Hello and welcome to episode 65 of the award-winning combat sports podcast, The Boxing Show, with me, your host, Rob Tebbutt. As always, I'd like to remind everybody to please like, comment and subscribe. Turn your notifications on for more boxing content. Now that's out of the way, there's a lot for us to get through from this past weekend. I'm joined by the usual twosome of Mr. Barry Jones and Mr. Andy Clarke, straight from the airport, both of you, aren't you? You're fresh in... Well, I wouldn't say fresh.
No. Yeah. Well, I had an overnight flight. I slept on the flight, which is really unusual for me, but just then... spent a lot of time in a car crawling through central London, which was at the exact moment you sent me that WhatsApp saying, mate, you should have just got on the Paddington Express. At that exact moment I was having a sense of humour failure. It was well timed.
I did send another text here.
Yeah.
But how are you guys? Obviously,
really good. Great week.
I
Really
feel
good
we
week.
actually had business, right?
Oh,
But me and Darren Barker, we had this. So depending if you sit backwards on them, then like in the middle, you sat with somebody. You could be a stranger, but they're quite wide apart. But if you sit forward, you get a little barrier because it's like a honeymoon suite. So we were sat there like fucking holding hands pretty much all the way. It was
very nice.
Yeah, it was, he's such a passionate lover.
Tender.
Yeah.
Tender?
But he's a prick. He is. I love him. But you can't sleep with him not with him. You can't sleep
this
next.
is like a
anywhere
very
near him.
strange start to the podcast.
No, because he does these stupid things. He takes a photo of you, but then you end up having a big droopy nose or ears, and I think he had when we with all like makeup on and stuff like that, which. Well, I'm sure we'll go out on social media any day now. He's off to Bali now with his family, so he'll be there bored. And I'm going to send that picture of Bali now. With what a trip though, eh?
I was going to say, romantic plane trips aside, it seemed like quite the week out there in Saudi.
It was brilliant. It was quieter than other weeks because there wasn't the whole.
Yeah, it wasn't as big as Fury Usyk, was it? But it was.
This was a super fight, but a trade super fight.
It was tremendous. Yeah.
But it was brilliant. And like the whole week, it was more relaxed. It was a little bit nicer in the week, wasn't it? I thought as well. And then and everyone played their part. But on the night, it was mega. Listen, we've been saying all week. And you ask 1,000 boxing fans what would be their fight they wanted to watch the most, and most of them would have said this. Like 99% would have said this. They would have had to, because these are two guys that are on form, clearly the best in their division. And no nonsense. That's the most important part. Not so much with no nonsense in their demeanours. I mean, no nonsense in their boxing. They're all about work, and I think it turned out to be a absolutely fantastic fight. Not the fight of the year or anything like that, but it was really every minute was intriguing. There wasn't one part of the fight was there.
Yeah, exactly. And you knew that it was very unlikely ever to be some kind of all out, barn-burning war, because they're both too good for that. And they respected each other too much for that. Any kind of major error in that fight could have been fatal for either one of them. So the concentration levels had to be through the roof. It was just great, and the week was good too because quite a lot of fighters gave good access. I got to see Beterbiev train on Wednesday night, maybe. Trained around about midnight. No music, silence, just doing those old drills he's been doing forever, including like those press-up ones. We could film a bit of pads, but then Ben he messed around doing southpaw pads for that. But then we just got to watch him go about his business. Same with Opetaia. He holds a pretty open house, Opetaia. He doesn't really mind who comes and films him. So it was really, really good. Really good. And the night was just... I mean, something different happened in every fight. I was chatting to Bradley Skeet and Sky Nicolson waiting to get our luggage earlier on, and they said the only fight where nothing kind of weird happened was hers. I guess Opetaia Massey, nothing weird happened, but Joe had to step in and stop it quite early for a world title fight, although it was exactly the right thing to do.
Yeah, very good stuff.
We just had a real variety of stuff, didn't we, in all of the fights?
Yeah, it was certainly a storied evening in Saudi Arabia, but obviously only one place to start, which is, of course, the main event.
Eubank, oh yes.
Yeah, that's where Andy was. We'll come on to that short while.
Come on, Chris.
Artur Beterbiev, the new undisputed light heavyweight champion, with a majority decision win over Dmitry Bivol. Barry, going to come to you first. The only place to begin. Right decision?
I thought Bivol won by a couple of points, but I didn't think it was a robbery either. So, I think the problem now in close fights, there's always a robbery. I don't see you. If a fight's at 2 points, two rounds, 2 points either way, if you give it to a fighter for 2 points, unless every round he's won is massively dominant, and you can clearly say there was no chance he lost those rounds. He lost 7. No chance he lost 7 rounds. Then you go, then it is a robbery. But you can't say that. There was a lot of close rounds there. But depending on what angle you're watching, whether you're watching at home, or watching on TV, or what you like. Oh, that's shit again. But it's still a factor, unfortunately. And also how much you put weight on aggression over work rate, I think, at times. So, and also what punches are landing. But you can argue about Bivol. Not all his punches were hitting clean, and a lot of Beterbievs were hitting gloves and then going through, and some of them were hitting gloves and still scoring. That's how powerful he is. So I didn't see it was a robbery. I wasn't really upset about it. I thought Bivol won, but I didn't cry about it. I was just happy we got a winner, because I didn't want it to be a draw. I didn't want to be massively controversial. People trying to build a narrative now, because I think we were going to get a rematch anyway. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think this is one of those fights that because it was such a good fight and such a close and entertaining contest, and because they got nowhere else to go.
Not really, yeah.
They got nowhere else to go. They win that sort of money, so we're always going to get the rematch, so it's fine. Like, Bivol gets to right the wrong in his mind. He wasn't that upset about it. First of all, he was gutted.
Probably that's kind of him, isn't it? Like you can't even imagine him having a scream up if he was. Yeah,
they stayed consistent all the way through, didn't they? In the way that they behaved, and he was all class at the end, which was great. I think Eddie would have preferred it if he at least just said, "Look, I did think I won," because he definitely did think he won. You could see from the reactions at the end that Bivol's corner were confident they got it, and you could see from Beterbiev's corner that they weren't confident. And the way they are, those two teams, I thought those reactions were quite telling, because with other teams you could have lost every round and they'll still celebrate at the bell. But I was the same as Barry. I thought Bivol did enough, and interestingly, in the arena, basically everybody thought Bivol won. Different affiliations, different people, different places. It was just levels of Bivol, really. I was the same as him, in that I did think he got it, but it wasn't a robbery, and it was a brilliant fight. When the scores came out and I heard the 116, 112, that made me think that Bivol was going to get it, because personally I couldn't see how you could give 8 for Beterbiev. So I was a bit surprised by the scores. But the reaction in the arena was that Bivol had done enough. And some people were really pretty strong on it. They thought it was a really poor decision. But I think it's one of those fights where it must have looked different on TV, because TNT scored to Beterbiev, and they covered it off the TV, which we all do at times for various different reasons. But DAZN Sky, we both had Bivol in the same kind of manner, not some kind of landslide. They watched it off TV. They had Beterbiev, and I think
I had it for Beterbiev.
You had it Beterbiev. Yeah. I think it was much more split if you watched it on TV.
All the dickheads had it for Beterbiev.
I think it was much
he still might work for TNT Sports, mate. So
I think it was much more split.
And Richard Woodall, who's not only a lovely guy, he's fucking massive.
Yeah, I was going to say, good luck with that one.
I always find that really interesting, because it just was much more split if you watched it on the TV. And I will watch it back, because I wanted to watch it back anyway, because it's a brilliant fight. But with that in mind, just to see how it kind of looks. I never bother re-scoring, because I can't recreate what I saw the first time around.
Thank you.
Something different, so it's pointless, really. But I'd imagine when I watch it, what I'll see is Beterbiev bringing the heat, throwing plenty. But you see it from the waist up, shoulders, heads. And what you won't see is that actually he was finding it really pretty hard to pin Bivol down. Yeah. And quite a lot of what he was throwing wasn't really getting there. And Bivol maybe on TV looked a bit like he was backing up and running a bit, whereas if you were there, you could tell that he really wasn't. He was moving, as you described it before we came on, but not running. And when he set his feet and held them and was brave, he did some really good stuff. So I'm curious to watch it back. I'll probably do it next week, actually.
Bivol changing direction all the time was the key for him, I thought.
I thought he was great. I felt sorry for him, because I don't know if he can do it any better than that against Beterbiev. And so to put that kind of shift in and really stick to the plan and concentrate and be brave and take a few licks and still not get it,
I think he gets
tough.
I sort of understand what you're saying, but I think he grows more from confidence in that now. I think, possibly. Because I think Beterbiev will think, I got to get on him quicker, and that might force more mistakes from Beterbiev. Though, it's so like I thought if anything, you on watching it live, you give it more to Beterbiev. Though you're right with TV cameras from different angles, you don't see the leg movements, you don't see the feet, but because you can hear the punches ringside. I've never covered the Beterbiev fight live before. I've done a few Bivol ones live. Never done him live, and like when he hits the gloves or the arms, like it sounds like being hit by a flat plank of wood.
Yeah,
like,
you're right. Actually, that's kind of a two-way
every time
street.
he hit, how did that come across?
Yeah.
But every time he hits
Certainly
anything,
did hit.
every time he hits anything. I gotta go back to me now. I remember my ex-girlfriend who was with me when I was boxing. So hi Zoe, you're a big fan of the show. I've seen it for 20 years, but she went to watch me box twice. So you only went to box when I had like a 6 round against Chris Williams. Really good fight. We had really good, but neither of us got massively punched. Me certainly. So she sat ringside and enjoyed it. I won, and no one got hurt. And then the next fight she went to was me and Freitas.
Probably wasn't quite as enjoyable.
The same sort of thing. No, not as couldn't hit as hard as Beterbiev, but every time he hit me, it was that bam. You know what I mean? Like and me going. And she said it was fucking mortifying. Like every time he hit you, I thought he was shooting you in the head with a cannon. And I mean, well, that's how it felt like. But that's what it is with Beterbiev. Every time that's what you see everyone like people, real experienced and good fighters, he hits them and they shit themselves. I don't know, and they're brave fighters and they're good fighters, and because he hits you so hard, you go fuck this. And the bravery that Beterbiev showed and the calmness Bivol, sorry, thank you. That's one of his strengths. I was saying that before the fight. Is calm demeanour and his concentration under pressure is going to be a real asset for him. But then I had the caveat of, but
it's never been
against something like this. But he coped so well with the pressure.
The flip side to that was, Beterbiev has always done it the one way where, I mean, really, you've got two guys who do things differently, haven't you? You've got Bivol, who looks at it as 12 individual 3-minute fights and is really good at winning rounds, and you've got another guy who is on a 36-minute clock, and he's looking to finish it inside 36 minutes, and that's what he's always done. And not really at any stage in many of his fights has it gone close to the wire, as in he needed it or he wasn't going to get it on the cards. That's not happened, has it?
The only fight really that's sort of close would be the Alexander Vostok fight. Yeah, it was close at the time of the stoppage.
But so they've got two different approaches, and what was fascinating about it, and another way in which it was close, apart from the scoring, was that he just ran out of road, Beterbiev, didn't he? That's what I thought watching it. I thought Bivol has just managed to stay ahead of him here, and Beterbiev just couldn't quite track him down, because it was a new experience for him, wasn't it? Having to rope in somebody who was ahead at halfway, probably. And then you had that big 7th Beterbiev, and we probably all thought, right, this is what's coming down the track now. We know what's coming now. But then Bivol's that much better than the people he's been in with that he didn't let it happen and won some rounds after that.
Yeah. Round 8 or 9, he had the second win.
8 and 9 were the rounds he won. Just before we actually talk about the fight, obviously we're going to start at the back and work our way backwards. We've just got some data. Obviously the Boxing News app. Download the Boxing News app, score the fights live and whatnot. But the great thing about the Boxing News app is that it shows you percentage-wise who scored what round and how close those rounds are. So it doesn't just say, the average had it this. It'll give percentages. Now we've picked out 5 rounds, which kind of shows, people think this was one way or the other. There's 5 rounds, and in particular 3 rounds that we've picked out as very close rounds according to the data. So we had round 4, which was 58% of people scored that for Artur Beterbiev, 38% of them scored it for Dmitry Bivol, 4% had a draw. So that's a swing round. Round 8, 35% had it for Beterbiev, 58% had it for Dmitry Bivol, 7% had it a draw. Round 10, 56% had it for Artur Beterbiev, 39% had it for Dmitry Bivol, 4% for a draw. Now, those 3 in particular, the other ones are the 3rd and the 7th, which weren't quite as close as those ones. But how you score those fights, essentially, I think, determines those rounds or those 3-minute fights as Bivol.
13, 15 scorecards.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like
it's a robbery.
It's basically those 3 rounds especially. Shout out the app. It's those 3 rounds especially that swing the fight.
What was quite interesting too was, I know we're talking about the Boxing News app, not the Sky card, but with the Sky Viewers card, after 4 rounds, and that'll be a consensus, a majority.
Are you plugging another app on the
No,
show?
but I'd imagine the way they operate that is it'll be a majority thing, won't it? It's like as
Yeah,
to how they
yeah.
decide what the score is. 4 rounds in, that card was 4-0 Bivol. And that wasn't what we were saying on commentary, so they don't just go by what we say. But they had 4-0 Bivol, which I didn't really see.
So
but if you did have 4-0 Bivol, then he's going to win, isn't he?
Well, we had on the zone.
They've also got their own.
Let me get my badge. We had 3 co-coms. Why wouldn't you? I mean, if you didn't have 3 co-coms, I wouldn't have a job. So thank you. But I think Anthony didn't really say. But I think he had. I think he thought. I think when he back to the studio, I think he favoured Beterbiev, but wasn't 100% sure. Me and Darren both thought Bivol won because we just copy each other. No, I generally thought Bivol won.
Yeah, Macklin and Josh Massey were in agreement that same.
But also, Chris Mannix, who does the scorecard, had a draw.
Yeah.
So
actually, Matt had a draw. He kept a card and he had a draw, but his kind of feeling was that it was that kind of fight.
It can be that though, can't it? Sometimes you'll think that one person won the fight or one particular result happened, and then you actually go and see your scorecard tied up and you go, actually, I've got it this or I've got it that, and it's it is 12 3-minute.
But I scored at Bivol and I felt it was Bivol. It wasn't like that. And I understand that you look at your score because you shouldn't look at your scorecard. I was speaking to a judge going back another fight. He was on about the Ben Whittaker fight where they finished, was a little bit of strangely, and they scored the 6th round even though it didn't go into the 6th round because the bell went. So anyway, but he didn't know what he scored. So he scores every round and he gives his scorecard away, and he didn't know that he scored it. I think he scored a level the fight, and he didn't know that.
Yeah, that's good though, because it means that you're wiping what you've done and just.
But also, it shows all this corruption. Sometimes this corruption talk is obviously quite often is bollocks. All the time, I think it's bollocks because they don't know. I mean, they can just think, make sure I score every round to him, but they don't have the scorecard in front of them.
No,
and they think, fucking, I got to make sure this guy wins now. Because I'm getting paid $5,000, so I'll. Trying to make it look close. They can't remember what they scored. I mean, some people can, but I mean, most of you you're scoring a round. You're concentrated on that round.
They don't have a running score.
It might be incompetence. Maybe they can't fucking score a fight, but says me.
But that kind of again, kind of to draw it back to our app, not these 2 fucking apps. That kind of illustrates those rounds. I mean, there's 5 rounds really in theory that weren't conclusive one way or the other, which leaves 7. I think there was I gave Bivol the first 3 rounds. Gave Beterbiev 4 through 7, Bivol 8 and 9, and they gave Beterbiev the last 3.
That also draws to the point where if there's 5 rounds, 3 rounds, whatever, you can 5 rounds, that can be very up in the air, and you just all favour them for that guy with no bias on how you scored the other close rounds, thinking, sometimes you scored close rounds to this guy, I've got to give him one.
You can hedge it a bit, can't you?
Which you shouldn't do.
People do it though.
Because
absolutely.
But that close round that you said, fuck, I'm giving one. Yeah, it might be the round where the other guy's won it more clearer.
Yeah.
Or close. But then you can have 16-12.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is, and then go, that's not a fucking issue. But
yeah, that's one of the things that's come out of it. Obviously, the 116-112 scorecard has been deemed too wide.
But Eddie jumped on that, didn't he?
Eddie, who also told the Bivol corner afterwards, it's close. In the ring afterwards, Eddie. You can see just before it goes, and then afterwards he starts kicking off. When he sees that Beterbiev and his team are celebrating, he starts kicking off.
Who's aligned to the people I work with? Eddie's my guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's fucking robbery of a fight.
When Beterbiev had the strong finish, you knew, I think I said at the end, this could be really, really close.
Swept all 3, 10, 11 and 12 on all 3 cards, Beterbiev.
Yeah. I just... You draw a line somewhere, don't you? And I could see the draw. Personally, I didn't see 7 rounds for Beterbiev, and I definitely didn't see 8. And that's really where I was with it. I could see the draw, but like we always say, you do have to put a marker down somewhere. I didn't see 7-5 Beterbiev, and definitely didn't see 8-4.
Can I just say, the judge I spoke to, British boxing board judge, didn't tell me anything, but he did say about they don't like... They're almost discouraged to give 10-10 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't be. I mean, we had one of our expert scorers had 2 10-10 rounds in there.
You should be able to find a winner.
You should, but you can't be. I suppose so. I mean, but if you're forced to find a winner, you don't truly believe that guy won the round. That's another issue, I think. as well. You've got to find a winner.
It's difficult, isn't it? I mean, we kind of, what was it, after the Luis Ritz and Miguel Vasquez fight, we had that was that terrible interview where people started talking about glasses of water and stuff like that. That was mental. We did because I'm obviously really cool, I did a 3-hour judging kind of seminar with Hubert Min, who's now passed away. Rest in peace, Hubert Min from the WBC. It was him, and there was a few other judges. Max DeLuca was one of them, and we kind of went through. And some judges will score like he'll have, like, let's say it's round 1, and it's like round 1.1, so he's at 1.1 of this round. Oh, that was a big shot, he's now at 1.2, and you just think, like, you have that, and then you have the glasses and stuff like that. Then other people, you just think, like,
he explained, it was Steve Gray, wasn't it? But he explained it badly with the glasses thing.
You can see what he says.
Yeah,
you can see. But the reason why I sort of said that is just drawn to the point that a lot of different judges will break their own way of doing it down.
It's that 1.1 thing, but then what if your stuff at the end of the round is dramatically more? I don't see how that. Like, I think if he's winning this round now, and the other guy needs to do something big quick, and even he does that stuff, I always think, I got to win this round. No, don't do nothing stupid.
Big flurry at the last 15.
I got you winning this round, but not conclusively. And then all of a sudden, the other guy does a massive bit of. Did he do enough in that last fucking 10 seconds?
Pain in the arse. I remember doing a scorecard for Sky a few years ago, and you'd have to give your score in like 10-15 seconds before the end of the round so they could get it up on the graphic, and then something happens and you're dead saying to no, change it. We're coming to you now, change that fucking score, because I don't. It is a minefield, the scoring, and Pavel Cardini, who had 8-4 Beterbiev. I'm not saying that he got that score because he just likes giving rounds to people who come forward. He may well look at it in a much more nuanced way than that, or he might give people rounds just because they come forward, because lots of judges do that, and
especially
that
in a close
isn't
fight.
Good enough.
Especially in a close fight, it's a close fight, and he might be busy, and he's the one pushing him back. And back to that power thing again. If those power punches are not having the effect, then are they really power punches? People will say, I know both people are going to say that's just rubbish, but I'm not saying.
No, but you're right, and I think Elliot Wursel came up with this in one of the books of his that I read, and I've kind of took it on as being a good way of visualising it. It is that energy bar at the top of the screen. Each fighter's got a full energy bar at the start of the round. You deplete the energy bar by punching them, and however big a chip of the energy bar comes off when they land a shot is down to the reaction that it gets, and that's how I always kind of think about it. But then you have to make the decision though, like, how big a chunk did that get through? Was that clean? Did it hurt them? Did it not? And the difficulty, like you say, comes with somebody lands, like when Anthony Joshua landed that monster big right hand on Ruiz just after he knocked him down and he just gobbled it up. What a shot. Yeah. But it didn't have any effect.
Yeah.
And then he, throws his left hook.
Fuck. Just did a Ben Whittaker.
And then Ruiz throws that left hook, sort of didn't graze him, but just clipped him on the top of the head, and he's all over the place. Yeah. One punch seems miles better than the other one, but they did nothing like the same amount of damage, and that's where you run into problems. Yeah,
absolutely. Basically. Right, we're going to try and talk about the fight. Obviously, we started at the end. I'm sure we'll kind of delve back in and out of the scoring as and when we go. Barry, going to come to you first, though. We often talk about the start of the fight. Obviously, Bob wasn't here, unfortunately, on the preview show, but the general feeling was that Bivol would have kind of the best of the opening rounds, while Beterbiev kind of does what he does and motors up. Very good start to the fight from Dmitry Bivol. Excellent movement, and not just movement, but also wasn't slow on the counter in the first couple of rounds, which I felt was very important.
And what he did, he put himself in the center. And I was saying this all week. He must have listened to what I was saying.
I think you watched the show.
I don't want to take too much credit. Just a bit of credit for his victory and defeat. No, he took the centre of the ring. He wasn't going to keep that centre or dominate that centre of the ring, but it just gave him more options and more space to move back and around when he was inevitably having to be pushed back. But he knew that he's a good counter puncher, he's a solid hitter, and he punches straight. His punches, his counter punches are quite often straight, so he can get the centre of the ring. When you throw, he can bounce back and come back and slide back in really quick and lands good shots. It's weird with his double jab, because his double jab is not fast.
No.
But he almost pushes with it.
Yeah, he does. He really does.
He almost extends it and then throws off the end of it.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird, but so effective. It's almost like he sort of like I don't know.
It's like a stutter
hypnotizes you, and he sort of goes ooh, boom, boom, and then just goes twice, and nothing speedy about it. But he was coming back a little bit low, and I was thinking, fucking hell, that coming back to here, watch it, and I was thinking, fucking, he's boxing so well, he's going to get chinned in a minute because.
Came close in the third round, I think it was Beterbiev, that
Beterbiev
right hand over the top.
That's it. Well, that's a shot quite often, isn't it? And and I was thinking, but also if he can draw him onto that, Beterbiev sometimes brings that right foot forward, squares himself up, and he can get tagged.
Which I think he did in the end of the, I think it was the end of the third round where they had that flurry in exchange, and then Bivol finished it by Beterbiev lunging forward the right hand, took those feet back, and then 1-2.
He showed that bravery that most of the combatants. Thank you.
There we go. Do you know what?
Thank you, Ronald.
You've been full of like.
Thank you, Ronald McIntosh.
The vocabulary recently has been otherworldly. I've heard him coming out with stuff that I know he doesn't know, but he's not getting them in the right places every time.
I don't know any of these things are really. I don't even know. I don't even know the name of the tube lines. It's just because colour, red, blue. But it's hello. Hi, I'm on the toilet. See you later. Yeah,
that's all right, mate. No worries. We've got 7 fights to do.
Yeah, but it was I don't even know what I am. He had to show bravery, the fire after the combinations of Beterbiev, and he did that so well. So just didn't allow Beterbiev, especially in the early rounds, to really fucking cement anything. So when he threw back. I thought this is it. But what made that fight really intriguing for me? Bivol was boxing really well because the first live fight was on a Beterbiev, but you're always thinking, when's Beterbiev going to land?
Yeah.
Or when he lands with one good shot, you go, oh, this is the start of it. It's all based, the excitement factor is all based around him.
Yeah, it's that anticipation, isn't it? Okay, Bivol's banking some rounds here, probably he's ahead at halfway, or maybe not. You know, there were close rounds. But when is the Chechen going to start landing? Because when that happens, then we know what's coming. But as it turned out, we didn't, because he did start to get to him just after halfway, and Bivol just wouldn't fold.
He's so brave and strong.
In a lot of ways, you could, apart from the last 2 rounds where Beterbiev was heavily on top, the other 10 rounds, I wouldn't say they were all the same by any stretch, but you know, Bivol was employing his game plan, and you could see what it was, and he was doing a good job of it. And Beterbiev was staying patient, don't want to panic, you know, trust the power, trust the process, all of those things. It was, it was just kind of, it was absorbing all the way through, wasn't it? But you're right, you were kind of waiting, like everybody was, just to that, when is that moment going to arrive, when things will change and the writing kind of appears on the wall. And it did, and then Bivol just kind of scrubbed it off, didn't he? He wasn't having it.
Yeah, we've spoke about this in the past about, you know, when you've got a boxer against a pressure fighter, you know, it's those first 2 or 3 rounds, and then it's okay. Oh, he started to have some success at the end, and I thought that basically was what happened. I thought at the end of the third round, Beterbiev had his first bit of success, and he landed on Bivol. It was a right hand, and like most shots of the fight, didn't really land clean, but you could see Bivol go, oh shit. Felt that,
and ringside you could hear it,
and then from the fourth it became, as we spoke about in the past, the kind of the pendulum. How long can he keep him off him for this round and this round and this round? And your mate Chris Mannix, I think after 7 rounds, said, you know, this is starting to look like your classic Beterbiev fight. 4, 5, 6 and 7. But then, Barry, it was something that you mentioned and alluded to with Andy Lee on commentary. Bivol found something in 8 and 9 which we've not seen from any opponents in the past from Beterbiev. We've seen Beterbiev kind of, you know, Marcus Brown nicked a couple of early rounds, Anthony Yard was sharp early on, Vosdik won some of those middle rounds, but once that tide starts to turn, nobody until this weekend has ever been able to reverse it. But in 8 and 9, which, you know, were big rounds for Bivol, he managed to do that.
Because you always get you get a second wind in distance fights. You get a second wind. We've all had it. Everyone who's boxed a distance fight gets a second wind. But against a massive puncher, you usually don't, because your second wind is, you're still in fucking survival mode. If they're coming on like he was, you're in survival mode. So even when you do get that second wind of energy, it's not really, you don't use it for aggression. You use it for energy just to fucking run away. Like, you know what I mean? You're just like, your self-preservation, and you're trying to fire back. You're fighting back to keep him off you. You're not fighting. That's the difference. I should have said that. I'm just thinking as I go along. But you're fighting back to keep him off you. But he was, and that's what most of the other fighters he's boxed, they just fired back, just trying to thwart the attack. He was fighting back to win the round. That was the difference. And because he punches, I think Bivol can punch. Like I've been saying that all.
Very buzzed Beterbiev a couple of times for sure, and that 7th round in particular.
But I'm saying that, no, since I interview enough. But I said it was like, I said all week, I said, he can punch. He said, but because he's such a thinker, his brain probably gets in the way and he just thinks, I've done enough to win the round and I don't want to fucking take any risks. But I think because he turns correct and he sort of like all those former Soviet trained fighters, they get that last little torque with the shoulder, so every shot is solid. They almost like lock their arm out, but they don't. But it's not locked, but they turn their body into it. So every shot is juddering, even if they're not a puncher, you can feel it. And he has that, I think, with a bit of natural power as well. So when you think he's faltered and he comes back like that, but whichever you look at it, it takes a real degree of bravery to do that when you felt the power, because you could see it. He had a lump on his head here, which I think was from his own fucking glove.
And the eye also, from catching those shots. So what's people
I've had that though, because that's the inside of your knuckle, that's the inside of your hand, and it's in your own fucking hand. But I mean, I never took any punches.
I remember gloves are, I mean, we'll talk about it in another fight, but like gloves are thinner and thinner nowadays as well. But when you catch, Josh Taylor was a classic for wearing the Everlast MX and catching gloves here. So after fights, his head would just be like that, and that was very similar with Bivol, wasn't it?
The gloves are better now than they were before.
Yeah, but
you could feel your fucking knuckles on the gloves years ago.
We'll come on to talk about that in the co-main.
I guess Beterbiev as well. Maybe when he started to get on top, and somebody digs in a bit, what he's used to in that situation is that being a bit of a final hurrah.
Yeah, the panic in it.
Yeah, rather than a second win, rather than really having something left, it's kind of they're panicking because they know it's heading one way and they just pour the rest of it out in a vain effort to kind of put a dent in him. He'll have experienced that quite a lot, and he might have thought that was what that was, and it wasn't, because Bivol, had more left than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those last... Sorry, Barry. Well,
no, please.
I was going to say the last... Thanks, Barry. The last 3 rounds, I think we've seen... You mentioned there kind of about the toughness and the bravery, but it's the concentration as well. To not give away those shots. Like, Beterbiev is there and he's waiting for you to make the mistakes, and he still didn't really make them in 10, 11 and 12, even when it was coming on top of him and the storm was really... The 11th round was a really hard round. Really hard round.
That's exactly what I was going to say about when you tire, that's when all the mistakes... I think Beterbiev boxes in chapters. I think fucking phases or whatever. But so he comes out, puts you under pressure straight away. Wants you to work hard, even when you're winning round. You win a round, you got to like Usyk differently, but same as Usyk and all the others, Golovkin and all them. If they win or lose in a round, you're working fucking hard to do whatever you got to do, and he'll do that because their reputation with the power and their power, they make you feel something really early. All the stuff we keep saying continuously, but it's true. But he'll make you fucking work. But then he'll try and win those rounds, and then he'll take a little bit of a, that's okay, just, I'll try and get those rounds close. Then those the middle rounds, then he'll just put more pressure on you. But maybe not throw so many. But again, he's just intensifying the pressure. Because you're starting to tire now. And then he's just pure work then from him. Just work. And he doesn't load up on his shots because he has natural power and really good technique. He throws a punch like Massey, Ronaldo, and all those great players kick a football. How do they fucking kick it so hard? Messi's my size, isn't he? How can he kick it so hard? You don't. And when you watch him kick the ball, he fucking barely moves. I don't follow football, but he barely. Rory McIlroy is like 2 inches taller than me, and he can drive the ball like 400 yards.
You're getting there though, Barry, aren't you? You're getting there.
No, I'm shit.
You're picking it up.
No, what I'm saying is though, but it looks like no effort in it. But it's all technique, and you can't see how he turns into or whatever. You can't see it until you put it in slow motion.
Yes, the mechanics of all of it.
Of course.
Because they're so good, you don't see it. And he's like that. Beterbiev, you don't see the real turn in his shots. Just like he's punching with his arm, but he's not. He's getting that proper rotation, or something like me who doesn't make a massive effort for. He just learned that it's like real quick twitch. Because they break it down, they condense it more because they've done it so long and so often, they're so good at it. That's what makes them great fighters. So every shot you choose hard and fucking powerful, and then you intensify that. And then when you're tired, you make fucking mistakes. And the more pressure you put, and I say this all the time, the more you tense up, the more you try and concentrate, the harder that is. The concentration fucking kills you, drains your tank, makes you physically tired. That's otherwise. Like, when you're working all the time, you're knackered, you know. But in boxing, you're fucking concentrating on everything, you're thinking all the time. I mean, it just fucking drains you.
And you're getting hit. But
the more you think, the more you tense. The more you tense, the more you pull against your body, everything goes wrong. But they do that to you, and then but then. Bivol with that demeanour, that concentration, that calmness in his approach, like he must walk around like I got this watch here, right, and it gives you my heart rate, right. So I'm 120. I'm 68 now. I was at the highest yesterday. I was 122. My lowest was 36. Fucking dead, didn't I? Practically. You know what I mean? But I reckon he's 36 in 2 minutes into fucking round 7.
He's do you know what I mean?
He's just like calm all the time. But like I thought in this fight, he can't be that calm.
Yeah, I thought, particularly after 6 and 7, I felt like Beterbiev hurt him to the body at the end of the 6th round. The 7th round, which it was a brilliant round. I mean, there was a few brilliant rounds. The 7th was fantastic.
Bivol won the first 2 minutes, didn't he?
Yeah, he buzzed Beterbiev.
He had him in trouble.
He buzzed Beterbiev and then rushed in on Beterbiev, and it was just sort of like a stiff jab, sort of cuffing. Again,
it was over the far side of the ring to us, so you could see that he had been hurt, but you couldn't quite work out.
That was really the only time that I felt that we saw from Bivol. Okay, he's hurt here. I think he felt some of the shots in the 11th round and late on in the fight, but he did that thing where he kind of put his arm across, didn't he? You think, he's really hurt. He was
in defensive survival.
Yeah. That was the only time, I think.
He was thinking at that point, for the first time, if I tried fire back now, I could be in real trouble. So he just kind of rode it out. But I do wonder whether... we saw Beterbiev on the pads when I went to see him train, and he wasn't hitting them particularly hard, but every now and again, he would turn one over and you'd just get this much sharper explosion of noise. And that's exactly what you're talking about. And the football analogy is valid, because I remember when I covered football and you go and watch training and there's no crowd noise, so you can hear the noise it makes when they strike the ball. The really good ones, it would make a ping sound. So in football they describe it as being able to ping it. And a puncher is the same. It's a more higher pitched sound with a heavy puncher, because it's that sharper explosion of air. So I was all over that. That was absolutely tremendous. I do wonder whether... Do you think there's a chance that when they rematch, Beterbiev might feel like he has to refine his method a little bit and be a little bit more concerned about individual rounds?
Well, one of the things I wanted to... Sorry, Barry.
They might look back at that and just think, all right, let's get a close fight, absolutely, no robbery. But they might look back on that and just think, we might have got away with one there, you know.
Well, it's a bit too close for comfort.
There was a few rounds, like... I know we talked about injection of pace, and he never really has it because he doesn't have to. But a few rounds, he showed it. You know, like the round when he was losing, all of a sudden, he at the end, he'd go, fuck this, and he'd just be a little bit faster with his feet and everything. It's just because usually, even when he slides in the distance and he closes the gap, he never really rushes it, but he rushed it a little bit and he was more effective, because then he just obviously fuck this again.
All of a sudden he's there,
especially in the later rounds. He was a bit. I think he might have to do that earlier.
I guess it's twofold, isn't it? You might think, if I'm going to stop this guy, I need to turn the heat up a bit quicker, but also I might not stop this guy. And I've got to make sure I've won enough rounds.
So the question I was going to come on to next, sort of in that vein, really, and I'm going to preface this with, Dmitry Bivol boxed fantastically well, and certainly not to take anything away from his performance. A lot of talk going into the fight was about the age of Beterbiev, the knee injury, the recovery, and you've seen a lot of him, both amateur and pro. Do you feel like we may have seen the best of Beterbiev? Do you think that there was a decline? Do you think that we saw the same Beterbiev that we saw against Callum Smith?
It's kind of hard to tell, because Bivol, I think, is that much better than anyone else he's been in with and posed problems that other people didn't. He did say after the fight that he wasn't really that happy with the way that he performed, and a lot of the stuff that they'd worked on in the gym he didn't really do. Mark Ramsey was up there with him and he didn't really say much, but kind of tacitly agreed with that. And when somebody asked him why not, he said, well, maybe it could have been my knee. He didn't say it was his knee, but I didn't really see that much difference, to be honest with you. I didn't see that much difference. I just think that he was in with somebody who made it a hell of a lot harder for him than anyone else has managed to make it for him. Anthony Yarde made it rough for him for a good spell, but then ultimately he did get that fight finished in the 8th, so you couldn't say that I mean, that's an emphatic win if you stop somebody in the 8th round. I've been very I've given him a lot of praise, Yarde, for what he did that night, and I think rightly so, but you can't say that you nearly won because you got stopped in the 8th. But I just think Bivol just brought something to his door that nobody else has been capable of doing, and that's a really long way of saying it's hard to tell.
Yeah, I think they're genuine questions, but they've been genuine questions for a couple of years. Then the knee injury, again, we were worried about that, and people who were telling me more about that injury, saying it takes a long time. If you're a football player, you're not playing for the season, apparently. But so it was a worry. People said at least it would be worse for Bivol if he had it, but I think when you're a puncher, you got to engage your legs. You're bending down. You don't see it with him because these guys. You have to push off your leg to generate power, so that it would be an issue. Didn't seem to be an issue, but you don't know. Maybe it was. And the age is always going to be a problem. It has to be. I mean, you can't maintain it. But on the night, it didn't look it. It just looked like what he did. And what he did what he had to do. And we were saying this before the fight. What they both do so well might not work in this fight because they're up against people who are just better than what they faced before. Yeah. I just think what he did worked, but it didn't have the desired effect. That's all. It had an effect, but not the usual effect where you're knackered, but he was tired, Bivol, but he got his second win, or you're under pressure. He was under pressure, but he couldn't force him to panic. He couldn't force him to square himself up on the ropes. Very rarely. Couldn't. I was saying that he takes a 20-foot one ring, or whatever it is. What's it, 20-foot?
Yeah, 20.
Into like a 3-foot triangle. Yeah. That's what he does. He makes that ring. He just shrinks it like that. But like Golovkin used to, like Canelo, like all these good pressure fighters do. They make that ring big to little. And it might take them longer. It might take some 1 round, depending how good you are. Others, it takes 9 rounds. But in the end, they get you in that fucking triangle, rectangle, whatever you want to fucking call it. And then you can't escape. And that's where they get you. That's when you make the mistake then. You're either brave and you get caught, or you shit your pants and you square up on the rope and you make the mistake and they beat you up. And it's happened to us all. But that's what they do. But when it doesn't work, you think, well, I didn't do this right, didn't do that right. You did that right, but he just didn't. He didn't play his part. Yeah. I think that's all. He just gave an exceptional fight. Well, it did work for him. He won the fucking fight. Yeah. But he didn't stop the guy, which he's supposed to. So he won't be happy because he's knocking everyone out, isn't he? Like, that's why. And the rally cry in the corner. People going out. They knew they were losing. They were saying, "You got to knock him out."
He's quite generally, Mark Ramsey, quite animated in the corner, isn't he? He's very.
He did the same to Hugo Santner.
But also, come on, Artur!
But also, if you've got a puncher like that,
people screaming into the mic.
I mean, you got to know your fighter. Yeah. He might need that. And also, by the way, if it's a close fight, like, you don't tell me in a close fight, but you got to knock him out in the last 2 rounds. So you're thinking, what's the fucking point of that? It's a waste of time, isn't it? It's just wasting my words. We're saving my energy for the disco later. You got to win these 2 rounds. You got to do something like. So they say because he's a puncher, what they're saying is they're saying you got to knock him out because that's what he does.
Yeah, ideally knock him out, but win the rounds.
Well, you got to fucking go work now. Go and get it. Go and put it on him.
And he did it, didn't he? Because that was one. That was one thing we kind of came back to at the end. Was never. I wanted to move on from the cards quite quick, and just like, never mind the cards in a way. What we know is that Beterbiev has definitely won 11 and 12. There's absolutely no arguing about that at all. And
on the Boxing News app, right?
And when you look at the cards, that's won him the fight. So he went out and he won it.
And that's the thing. We've spoken about this in the past as pertaining really to the Anthony Yard fight. When it is on top of you and you've got somebody who's not necessarily compliant, as Anthony Yard wasn't to that point. He'd been hurt more than Bivol had been hurt. Can you go and win those rounds? And he did sweep the last 3 rounds on the cards, and that won him the fight.
Exactly, great fighters he was 6 for the one that with the drawn card. He'd have been 6-4 down after 10. The 7-5 it would have been 5-5. He already had the other one, as it turned out. But those 2 were completely live, and he went out and won them both.
Yeah. And Bivol, they knew they needed to win those rounds. Yeah. And he fucking couldn't.
Yeah, he couldn't.
Even though I thought he won the fight, he couldn't.
They were hoping that they were far enough ahead.
But also, if Bivol tried to go out and win that, if Bivol really tried to go out and win that round,
he could have got knocked out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I think that 11th round in particular was heavy.
And that's why all throughout the week, I picked Bivol from months ago before the fight when it was even just talked about. I picked Bivol and I always stick to my guns. I never try and change my mind unless I know something's going on behind the scenes or something. But I was saying all week, Beterbiev has to be the fucking favourite. I forget about the bookies. I don't interest in that. He has to be the favourite because of that. He don't have to be. He only can be hurt because he has so much arse. Because Arsenal's so fucking prolific.
Almost.
Thank you. All those big words. I fucked it on one easy one.
Right.
But he always. There's no fucking second in any round that you're safe. And you have to, and there's no, and you can't. And I'm saying you can't stay concentrated for 3 minutes. For 3 minutes a round, keep concentration for every minute, every second is really difficult. To do it for 12 rounds is a fucking impossible task. You can't do it.
Yeah.
So I came up with a little saying. I thought it was really cute that you can. So when you switch off, you hope he's not switched on. Yeah. And there was last round where Bivol had to go and win it. he haven't got a Beterbiev who's fucking knackered. He got a Beterbiev who's coming at him, so he knew he had to be safe. So if he did run a little bit, it was in the last round.
Yeah, and somebody asked me afterwards, do you think he'll regret, kind of the way he boxed the 11th and 12th? And I said, not really.
No,
I
he
didn't
can't.
think there was anything else
What else is he
he
going
could
to
have
do?
done.
Yeah.
If he'd opened up, he could have got chinned, and he just, at the end, I'm not saying you can take everything from the corner reaction, but at the end, they were pretty confident, Team Bivol, that they'd done enough. They thought they'd done enough. And the Beterbiev corner, they weren't sure. They didn't know. But they're not guys who are going to jump around.
But also,
anyway,
they don't know because they've never been in that situation with him before. That's why as well. I would say that. But I would say, that even though the Bivol camp thought they were miles ahead, probably thought they could lose those last 2 rounds and still win the fight. In a fight that's close, they don't really think that way. No. They want him to win those rounds. He just, we want to win those rounds, but we think, we don't get fucking knocked down or knocked out.
And that is the finest of margins at the top level.
Yeah,
that's what separates the best light heavyweight of this generation from the second best.
In a person's reaction, it's like, there could have been a bit of relief in there as we've got to the cards and we've got a good chance.
Yeah.
Rather than just, we've definitely won.
The post-fight narrative has focused really on who won the fight. Do we think that because he went the distance for the first time, because, in a lot of people's cases, it could have gone either way, do you think Beterbiev's getting the credit that he deserves for winning this fight?
That's a good question. That's always something
not sure he is.
He's not.
It's always something you want to kind of...
But he should.
...guard against in commentary when you get a result back and you think to yourself, I'm not sure about that. You'd never want to invalidate somebody's win, but you do also have to say what you think.
Yeah, of course.
And you can't just be toing and froing and on the one hand this, on the other hand that. That's bullshit. But I think he probably isn't getting the credit he deserves. I think he probably isn't. I
got a bit of stick. I thought Bivol won the fight, but I said the most important thing is we got a winner. And then people go, fuck you, what? You thought he won the fight, but then they got the winner you didn't think won the fight. I was that fucking right. I didn't think he won, but I didn't think he fucking got robbed either. It's like it's a close.
He could have won for sure.
Yeah, he did fucking win, obviously, didn't he?
Well, he did win, but
it's a close fight that the other guy won. I mean, you have to be a little bit like that.
In a way, like you could make a pretty strong argument that people get too hung up on who's won, because that was a really good fight, and it's a Chechen against it's 2 Russians, a Chechen against a guy from Kyrgyzstan. Why can't we just enjoy that one and not really obsess about who fucking won?
It became extremely tribal, didn't it?
Why
in the build-up to the fight. I was on the Beterbiev tribe, so I can't really...
I know. I've always been I'm a Beterbiev fanboy. I always have been. But at the same time, and then after the fight, it's this again. You get I've got the odd message. You're so biased towards Bivol. Why would I be biased towards Bivol?
I tell fighters actually. I go, listen. To be honest, it sounds really horrible, but I usually don't give a fuck to them. I usually don't give a fuck. I don't really fuck who wins. Because I'm a boxing fan. I don't care how much you get paid. I want every boxer to win. I want every boxer to win every fight. I want every boxer to win millions. But I don't care what you get paid. I don't care if you win or lose a fight. I don't want you to get hurt. But I want to see a good fight. I'm a boxing fan.
That's all I got. We got a good fight.
We're definitely going to get a rematch.
Yeah.
We got a king of the division now. Clearly, at last.
Great story for the rematch
not clearly,
too.
But I mean, we got a king of the division, and then we're going to get to see the fight again. It was a fucking really good fight. The second fight, I think, would arguably be better than the first.
Yeah, and I'm not saying when I say that, I'm not saying that we shouldn't scrutinise cards and we shouldn't demand better when poor cards are handed in. We have to do that, but. That was a brilliant fight, and we will get a rematch. I'm absolutely certain of it. So, if people are aggrieved on behalf of Bivol, and I thought he got the rough end of the stick, he will get his chance to put it right.
Let's move on to what happens next. I think the general feeling is that we're going to get a rematch, so we won't entertain.
No one next, is there?
Well, I mean, there's some talk of David Benavidez. There's talk of Beterbiev wanting to go to cruiserweight, but the overbearing noises about the rematch, of course. Barry, going to come to you first. Who are you putting your money on in the rematch?
Bivol.
Why?
Fucking matchroom, innit? I'm a matchroom his own. I got a family to feed. No, I just think because I always go with except in the Ward Clarke fight, I didn't go that way. I always think that the technically better boxer and mover has more scope to adapt. And he'll know what it's he'll know what it's like. To think you're prepared against a puncher and a pressure fighter like that is one thing, but you go in blind. Now you know what it's like. So you'll be able to. You still know you can't make a mistake, but he doesn't make lots of mistakes. But you also will know what it's like when the pressure when it's bad. The bad parts in that fight, he knows what that's like now, so you know how to navigate that a little bit better. That's what I think. So that's why I think he'll learn more from that fight. Though Beterbiev will also know that I have to do this, I have to do that. But for him, I think for Beterbiev to adapt in that fight is ultimately to be fucking busier early. But with that, he gives Bivol more chance to land shots. But also he gives more chance for him to land shots, which is always a good thing for a fucking puncher of his magnitude. But there's more chances for him to make more mistakes, trying to be more aggressive. I think is not methodical really, but just say for argument's sake, I'm running out of big words. His methodical approach to wearing you down works for him. So he doesn't rush his work. But if he has to up the pace a little bit, then he might just rush his work a little bit and be able to be. And someone like Bivol, who's brave in the counter attacks, will have more opportunity to throw shots. So he won't throw 3. He might throw 6 this time. So yeah. So I think Bivol. I think it works better for Bivol. I mean, Bivol took a fucking hat. If Bivol had took a sustained beating for 3 or 4 rounds, which he never did in that fight, or 3 rounds for instance, and then lost the fight, then you think, oh well, Beterbiev now he knows he can fucking almost got him out of there. But there was never really a moment where that looked likely. I don't think he hurt him a few times, but Bivol never looked like he was gonna he was gonna go down or get stopped. Not really,
no.
So yeah.
If there was a time, it was going to be that start of the 8th.
Again.
That's all right, man. If there was a time, it would probably been the start of the 8th, and then he won 8 and 9, didn't he? Once he won 8 and 9, that was really impressive.
So you always go
really impressive.
So I think So for that alone, I think he's the one who will probably learn more from that and come back with thinking I can be better. But Beterbiev goes in there with loads of confidence to fucking to win again because he won the first one. But I think Bivol will think I can do different stuff. Where Beterbiev just got to try and intensify what he did.
Andy?
No, I find that convincing. I mean, it's a difficult question, and
Thanks.
I don't have
I get paid
a
30
particularly.
more, that's why.
I don't have any really firm thoughts on it, to be honest, because it's a tricky one to answer. But I think the chances of Bivol being able to make a few more adjustments, I think that might be more straightforward for him than it is for Beterbiev just to box in a higher gear from earlier, because that sounds simple, but it's not, is it? Because that it demands more of your gas tank for a start, and he will be 40 by the time they next fight probably.
Distort your technique.
Yeah.
Another 6 months making the weight.
Distort, another word I found out.
Word of the day: toilet paper. Barry's got.
Yeah, so I find what Barry said there. I can't come up with a more convincing counter argument to that. Put it that way.
Okay.
Fuck you then. Get out.
I would say rematch in 2 potential ways. I thought Beterbiev did show signs of aging, and I don't think he was the same Beterbiev against Callum Smith. That's not to take anything away from Dmitry Bivol, and I still thought Beterbiev edged the fight. But after 3 rounds, I thought that Beterbiev, at the end of the 3rd round, when he had that success, and there was like little tiny pockets of the first couple of rounds, thinking, okay, he's getting closer than I maybe thought he might do in those early rounds. And then 4, 5, 6, and 7 started to up the tempo and win those rounds. Again, Bivol was kind of coming back into it. But I didn't really see Beterbiev, and part of it, again, Bivol's movement and kind of concentration. But we didn't really see until the 11th round Beterbiev sustain an attack, able to go through the gears. After the 7th round, when you're thinking, okay, this is, I mean, I know he's not been there that many times, but how many 8th and 9th rounds do you think he's lost in his career?
Yeah.
Not many.
No.
And in the 8th and 9th, he couldn't. I think it was somebody mentioned on the DAZN broadcast, he looks like he's maybe saving himself. Can he do the rounds? Can he do this? And obviously by the end of the fight, he's emptying the tank in 11 and 12 in particular. But I definitely felt like there was a reluctance to do that, or an inability to do that perhaps.
I thought that at times maybe that he was keeping
he
something
just couldn't necessarily.
He was thinking to himself, this is going to go deep, maybe it'll even go the distance, and he'd never been in that situation before.
I don't know whether or not that's age, injury, both. Bivol, I'm sure it's potentially a combination of all 3.
I think
Or just lack of experience. of that particular situation.
But
he had the Vosdik fight, which was very similar.
But he's used to people fighting back. He's not used to
against another, and I felt like in the build-up to it, like Vosdik, he's a bronze medalist, Olympic bronze medalist, top pro as well, and Beterbiev found it there where he couldn't necessarily find it against Bivol, and that's again not taking anything away from Bivol, but we didn't see in those middle rounds that sustained pressure. And I felt like he was potentially thinking, oh well, I don't know if I've got this in the bank. And also, I felt like somebody told me something on the Friday about the knee. Basically, we could say it anyway. So Mark Ramsey apparently didn't want to talk about the injuries, which scared the living shit out of me as somebody who'd been barking about Beterbiev all week. And I wonder whether or not, because we'd heard about it in the build-up, and kind of you look at Beterbiev, as we all know, as this Iron Man, indestructible bloke, and I kind of have over the years gravitated towards your pre-fight way of doing things, which is you have to take the last version of what you saw and kind of rubbish the fact that the last version of what you saw was kind of potentially career-ending knee injury at 39 years of age. And on the night, I do feel like it wasn't the best version of Beterbiev, or the Beterbiev that we saw against Callum Smith, or even the Beterbiev we saw against Anthony Yarde.
He said that himself after the fight, that he wasn't
now,
as good as he wanted to be.
Now, whether that's fitness, as in kind of not being able to do a proper camp and a full build up, so he didn't have the confidence in his stamina, or he did do that, but because of the way the knee is at the age that he's at, I mean, you mentioned earlier, by all intents and purposes, it's an injury that keeps you out for several months. Whether he wasn't able to do it because of that, so I could see Bivol. If Beterbiev, if that is, knee, and he wasn't able to prepare properly, but they wanted it on and whatever else, and he comes back as the version of Callum Smith, I think Beterbiev could do a better job in the rematch or win clearer. If we have another 6 months of decline, and that stuff is based on the fact of the age, the knee injury is never the same, I could see Bivol knocking him out.
Well, let's be honest, time is not a friend of Beterbiev. That's
absolutely.
So an immediate rematch, however long that takes, is good for him. But I also think all those things, they're all valid questions, and you have to say the age is always going to be there. That's just how it is, and he might not be the best version of what he is, but very rarely does that. You can't maintain that excellence forever, and the injury probably is a factor. But also, what's a big factor is he's not used to an opponent punching back with conviction in any moment of a fight. Certainly at that late of a fight, like Bivol did. So fighters are punching back out of just fucking sheer necessity, but with that you don't have the same conviction with your punches. The smoothness is not the same. Bivol was fighting back even in the later rounds with solid, sharp punches that Beterbiev could take, but they stopped him from working. That's and it wasn't just like stay away from me. It was like no, boom, boom, boom. Even when he was dancing around running for his life,
totally.
And he was feeling those shots as well, totally. Beterbiev.
Exactly, yeah. So that's what I mean, and that stopped him from. But he does that to you with much more power, but Bivol did it with him with accuracy and punched long with the shot.
Good timing.
So just stopped him from just stopped his momentum every now and again. He carried on. He worked through it brilliantly, Beterbiev as well. But I mean, just stopped him now and again from getting that fucking momentum of pressurising you. Even without the punches, pressurising you, bullying you, intimidating you. My presence, all those things that those big punchers do so well. It just didn't form the full picture of him. No. It didn't form the full fucking beast that he normally is, because Bivol wouldn't allow it.
Exactly. I think that's why in close rounds, I was probably leaning towards. Well, I leaned enough towards Bivol to make him the winner, because those flurries when he launched them, they were accurate and they were quite clean. There wasn't loads of clean punching in that fight, and he did most of it, I would say. You can argue that that's a slightly cosmetic thing, although they're whacking hard in there, obviously. But that can, that does and possibly should matter.
I tell you what though, Beterbiev, he hit so hard, he hit the gloves and they scored. Like he hit the gloves and it went fucking through the gloves and hit the face. It's like
they're moving Bivol around as well. Those shots as well. Yeah.
Bivol haven't just got his hands up. He's solid defensively. So when Bivol shells up, you don't get through. But like Beterbiev, it's so hard.
You see,
they were going through like
I saw
this.
quite an interesting thing
you see
today.
people going, fuck's sake.
I saw quite an interesting thing today. Well, Bivol said after the fight, he hits really, really hard. I've never really felt anything like it. And Andre Ward's just on Twitter today just saying, don't be saying that ahead of a rematch because you can't shrug it off and say, nah, it's nothing, because everybody knows that would be a lie, but keep that to yourself.
Yeah, you can punch a bit, but it's nothing I haven't felt before. That's usually the answer.
I've got sort of forearms today, but no big deal.
Yeah,
don't be saying that, oh, God, my God, when I was...
Yeah, but I don't think that's a proper issue. Like, Beterbiev knows he hits hard.
Yeah.
Like Kovalev, he's on. Well, Kovalev knew he hit hard.
But I understand it from a psychological standpoint.
But I think I
don't give him that.
But I don't. I think Bivol is such such great self-belief that I don't think he knew what he was up against, and he was honest. He was honest from the beginning. I think I can win the fight, but I know what I'm up against, and it's Beterbiev brilliant, and he hits hard, and I got to be aware of everything. And now he knows. I think he grows confidence from that. It's like when you begin your first hard fight at 9. I said round 9, you're fucking blowing at your ass, and you think you can get through it because you train so hard. And you've had wars in 8 rounds, and 3 rounds, and 6 rounds, and all that shit. But you've never been in this position before. And once you get through it, so you think you could do it, but you haven't done it. So you've done it. You know. Now he knows. But he also knows that Beterbiev could knock him. Like Beterbiev, the next contest, Beterbiev could knock him out in fucking round 1. So that's what makes it great. Beterbiev is one of the best fighters to watch live because every fucking second you're like this.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way of looking at it because it sets us up nicely to talk about the co-main, which was of course a very closely contested first fight that was decided in pretty much the most emphatic fashion that you can decide any fight in the rematch, which is of course Fabio Wardley and his brutal KO1 win over Frazer Clarke, of course a rematch of their bout earlier this year in March, which was a draw. But Andy, there was no draw this weekend in Saudi Arabia. Really, I mean, call it for what it is, a brutal, quite concerning knockout
it was an alarming
it's a hard one to say because we all know Fabio and Frazer hit, and you don't ever want to see a fighter get knocked out and hurt.
But it was
with the heavyweights you've mentioned this past. When it's the heavyweights, it's very different.
It's very different. It's very different, and it was shocking for all sorts of reasons. The visuals, what it looked like, Frazer's expression, the damage that you could see quite quickly after the punch had landed. But also the shock factor of it just happening in the first place because you can never rule it out at heavyweight, but no one was predicting that. People were saying we could well get a stoppage because you generally do in a heavyweight fight, but that it might come mid or late. But for it to be over before it had even really started, it's just those two fights as an advert for heavyweight boxing are just incredible because a 12-round war, which is not something you normally get, where they both look ready to go, but nobody manages to quite finish the other one off, and they both show massive balls to just stay in there. And then again in the rematch, it's equally pure heavyweight boxing when someone gets taken out in the first round. It's going to be very difficult for Frazer to get over this. I'm not saying he can't do it, but this is as challenging as it gets because if you get knocked out when you haven't got too much on your resume to really draw upon, in terms of you can look at it and think, okay, I got chinned, but I've done this and I've done that and I've done that and I came back from that, I can brush this off. If you don't really have too much of that, then that makes it hard. And he is in that situation because although he's got the 12 rounds of the first fight to say, yeah, but I managed to do that. If that had been against somebody else, then you could use that pretty effectively. But it doesn't really work because it's against the bloke who just knocked you out. So it's a real tough one. And then with the facial damage, he's had it attended to, and basically it's a fracture of the cheekbone arch. It's called a zygomatic arch, I think. So here, essentially. And that's where you saw the dent, which was basically a displaced bone. And that's why you see the jaw became misaligned because that's what it'll do. And so they've gone up through the inside into the mouth and basically just pushed it back into place. And luckily, from what I've been told, that looks like it's worked. So he doesn't need plates and there'll be a healing process. But it's the mental scars as well as the physical scars now, because that is, once you know that somebody can do that to you, I mean, that has got to be pretty tricky.
Yeah. Before it comes to Barry, so a compression fracture is what I said. It was a compression fracture, and by all accounts, they have to go in and physically push it out.
Yeah, that's it's as simple as that.
But apparently it was only a 40-minute procedure. So they go when you get a dent in your car.
That's it. They're basically going into your cheek and pushing it from
they put hot water on him and.
It's but you know,
see the picture.
We're talking about that, but what a performance from Wardley, because I'd just been talking before he threw that punch about, you know, that kind of maverick streak and unorthodoxy that he's got, these big shots that, you know, appear on your radar late because they come in from outside the eye line, and then he just threw one and that was kind of it.
But he threw it from low as well, didn't he? So you almost can't see it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, there's that big kind of. Yeah. It's like he's throwing a javelin, but it's starting down by his ankles. I mean, he is some fighter, isn't he? Because so athletic, and I mean, it's really kind of amazing, to be honest. You know, those 4 white collar fights, and you know, it's something that you don't want to keep going on about it forever, but it's never not going to be relevant. He's got so little experience, really.
I think it helps him though.
I think it does.
It's like when the rematch, I thought the first fight, I thought Fabio was going to win because he wars is what he does, and Fabio and Frazer never been in a war. So even though he's not saying he couldn't do it, because he fucking showed he could in the first fight. So that's why I picked Fabio. He'd drag you into this war, and you know, I thought Frazer's professional record life up until that point had been relatively
underwhelming. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he hadn't really been tested.
Because we knew how technically good he was, but then in a rematch, you always tend to go, like I have with Bivol and all the rest, is the guy who has a better boxing brain, better feet, better jab, all the stuff, technically a better fighter overall, will be able to adapt better. But I still pick Fabio in this fight. I mean, I guess my whole theory of thinking, all these new words I'm using. And I just think Fabio drags him into his war straight away. But Frazer, the few seconds of the fight, started off really well.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he got his jab in the play and all that, and he did. And even when he got caught with the first shot against the ropes, and Fabio went in, Frazer caught him a little right hand, it was an uppercut. Yeah. And I think that wobbled Fabio. And as he went to throw again, he got turned into the ropes, and then Fabio just got a clean shot at him. That
turn into the ropes, Barry, is that a mistake from Frazer Clarke? Should he be protecting himself coming out of there? Is that he looked as though he may have been waiting for the referee to break it?
Yeah, well, if he's waiting for the referee to break it,
reminded me a little bit like Isaac Lowe and Nick Ball.
Maybe, but it wasn't. But he wasn't over the rope. He was really, so there's no problem with that. And you haven't hit him turned. You haven't hit him with his back.
I'm not saying he was or wasn't.
No, I'm saying he hasn't with his back to him. So maybe you should keep your hands up all the time anyway. For fuck's sake. But I mean, the reason about hands up. The best fighter on the planet, arguably, Alexander Usyk, boxes with his hands up. So all this thing about people trying to be down here all the time.
Bivol boxes with his hands up.
You know, there. So you know,
Beterbiev boxes with his hands up. You know,
it works. That's
Fabio Wardley doesn't, but you know.
No.
But Fabio, tell him.
Yeah, I was going to say. Fabio needs to get your hands up, man.
But after he threw that left hook, then he threw that looping right hand, the first one, and I pushed him to the side. But the second one. Yeah. Fucking hell, it was horrific. And Frazer, he was done. But for a second, I thought he was on his knee. I thought he knew where he was. He didn't know where he was. He didn't have a clue where he was, I don't think. But for a minute, I thought he knew where he was.
Once we got to that close-up, once the close-up was seen on the screen, it's like, oh, Jesus, he's in, he needs assistance.
But originally, I thought he was on his knee, one knee, and I thought he was on his knee, and he just thought, my legs are not working. You know what I mean? He knew what he was. I want to get up, but my legs are not working. I can't get up. But
he just had this huge impact, and he knew something was wrong. I think, wasn't it?
I know. I just think he was like that.
Yeah, he was just kind of frozen to the spot. It was. There was no
good referee in that.
Talking to the doctor. That again, wait for my luggage this morning. There was no neurological damage. It wasn't a neurological thing. It was the sheer physical impact and the bone fracture and the shock that brings. That was probably the reaction. And then the displacement of the jaw. I mean, Matt said on commentary, the way he was kind of frozen to the spot and the way his face was, he looked like he'd had a stroke. Yeah. Luckily, he hadn't, but he did look
very
like that.
Very insensitive. But
it was an alarming sight, wasn't it?
Oh, it was fucking horrible.
And you were closer to it than us too, because horrible, you were right up on the apron. We were probably about 15, 20 feet behind.
All I kept thinking was, fucking, I wish Andy would have left his book for a few months.
Well, it's amazing, honestly, like how often stuff like this happens, because when I wrote that, you kind of think to yourself, these are kind of rarities. They're few and far between. You know, you have to go and kind of search for good ones, and then maybe
I'm not in it.
maybe some will happen during the course of the writing. But it happens a lot more than you think.
Fucking
It
mad,
happens a
isn't it?
lot more than we kind of realise. It really does. But two big heavyweights throwing down, I mean, it is absolutely epic. And
But to be fair to Fabio, like I said, we dragged you into this fight early. He fights with a I say it all the time. I'm so sure I'm right, unless someone just tells me why I'm wrong. He has that instinct of Nigel Benn.
yeah,
He just fucking.
he's got something, hasn't he?
He's a fuck you throw it fighter, isn't he?
That intangible.
Do you know what
He's
I mean?
just got that something. Like, because in the build-up, I was thinking, you know, if Frazer's like conditioning, say, is better, and he can hold his shape deeper into the fight, he's got the better technique, and that could win him the fight. But then with Wardley, you're just like, yeah, but like he seems like he's capable of sort of anything, really. So
the first thing that
difficult man to bet
I think
against.
I think at some stage, you know, that's going to get him into trouble dramatically.
Yeah,
like-
probably is. Yeah,
But the instinct, when he's tired, he fires back and gets into trouble.
He completely rolls
Nigel
the
Benn
dice.
did when he's hurt.
yeah. He totally rolls
yeah.
the dice, and he's going to get knocked out at some point. Fabio, he won't thank me for saying it if he's watching, but that's the game he's in. That's
actually,
heavyweight boxing.
He said something to me, like, cheeky fucker, right? Look, he said something to me when he came on the ring. I mean, well done, like, it's a fucking great win. And I picked him to win, by the way. If he's watching, I picked you to win. He went, you stop having a go at me now, or you'll be next.
Is that what he said?
Something like that. I've had
Wow,
him.
okay.
Or you'll be next. I'm fucking scared of him. I fucking battered him.
But a massive bonus for him too is the fact that
Do I get Saudi money if you beat me up? I don't know.
when that first fight was the way that it was, and you're boxing at this high level, and you fight the way that he does, to get through a fight with absolutely no damage or any toll taken on you whatsoever, that is a massive bonus.
He could be back out on.
Yeah.
He could be back out on Latino night if he wants to.
It's such
He
a
could fight this
bonus.
weekend on the.
Nothing is
not this weekend.
not a fraction of longevity has been taken off his career by that fight. And at heavyweight, when you get to the level he's at, that is very unusual.
Particularly when you consider the
training
fact
camp that was.
and particularly the fact that he's come into the fight and everybody's seen the damage on his nose and thinking, oh, that nose, like, well, it's all right now.
yeah.
And also, you're going into that fight. You're both going into that fight thinking this fucking prepared for
Yeah,
fucking
Hell,
hell.
yeah.
This is going
the
to be
adrenaline of winning in that manner, but it also meaning you haven't got to do that again, must be absolutely
You
massive.
see some
because
punches do like 3 rounds on the pad
Yeah.
you after.
because we were talking about it during the week, I'm sure you guys were as well, which is that the fear of the unknown, and can you do the 12 rounds? People always talk about, you know, the unknown being the most scary thing, but I don't think that's necessarily true. I think the known, when it's a 12 round
I was
hellacious
saying
war,
that, yeah.
is worse almost. If knowing is almost worse.
Depending who you are, though.
Yeah, true.
Actually,
true.
I think for him, I think he thinks, because I think he loves being in that situation. Some people are just fucking madly stupid, and I think he's like, no wonder you don't fucking like me. But I mean, I think for him, he just thinks, fucking, this is where I want to go. Some people are like that, aren't they? Johnny Tapia, some people just want to be in a war.
Yeah.
Fuck, because I know.
Because they back their hardness, basically.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And it's like, boxing is like, I mean, I love endlessly whittering on about the psychology of it and all that kind of stuff. But really, when you go up in levels, people hit harder and they take a better shot.
Yeah.
You know, Matt was saying that to me during the week. That Billy Graham just said to me, it's that basic. You know, their punching power is great and their punch resistance is better.
Yeah.
And Fabio knows that he's got that resistance to do the 12 rounds, and he sure as shit knows he can punch.
I think he knows. I don't like it. I don't like being in a fucking war, but I know you'll like it less than I do.
Yeah, I'll win.
There you go. That's it, isn't it?
Shane McGuigan
Like,
said something to me about that once. I remember asking him about kind of what it takes to be a fighter at the top level, and he basically said it's about how much pain can you take.
yeah, you've got to be
He's like,
really,
can you take the
really,
pain?
Yeah.
Shane McGuigan. He
Yeah.
said, he
You
said,
haven't fucking boxed though. I'm joking.
he said basically
has
it's
no-
how much pain can
Yeah.
you take? Like Josh Taylor, and there's a time he was working with Josh Taylor, and he's like, you have to be, and it's not just in the ring. Obviously, that is a big part of it, but you know, when you're banged up in the middle of camp, when it gets really hard,
How
and
hard
you're on
are
a
you?
calorie
Yeah,
deficit
it's as
and all
tough-
of this stuff.
That's
like,
why-
It
that's
is
why
as
I always
simple
said
as that.
about-
And if you've then got the
how
skill,
tough are you?
if you've got that, and then you've got Josh Taylor's skills, then you become the undisputed.
Yeah,
champion of the
exactly.
world.
So that's
Yeah.
why all these
But
like.
if you haven't got his skills, but you're fucking rock
It
hard,
can still
you
take
can
you,
get to
yeah,
a really
yeah.
high level.
That's why we say about running in the morning is important. People, it's not better for your body to run other times, but like there's a mental toughness having to get up and it's fucking raining. People think, oh, it's not fighting, but having to get up at fucking 5 o'clock when it's pissing down with rain and freezing cold in December, or or it's snowing, you still gotta get up. It was only ice and sleet. You wouldn't run if it was icy. That was it. Apart from that, there was no fucking excuse not to run. Like and you get up because you don't want to. Because in a fight, quite often, unless you're like unless you're Lomachenko, even you've had to do it. You got to do things you don't want to do to win a fight. Quite often you have to do that, and the less skill you have, unfortunately, I know that, the more you have to fucking do it. So you're in spots in a fight where you're mentally half saying, I fucking don't want to be here, and it's a fleeting thought. But so doing tough things makes you tough. Easy times make fucking lazy people, don't they? I mean, you have to do tough things, so you put yourself in those situations in training to do that. It's not just doing 1,000 press-ups. You have to spar with people who are bigger, better, stronger than you. So you have to be in those chances. If you dominate every sparring session, then what have you fucking learned?
Yeah,
that's it.
You're not sparring. You're not sparring good enough.
You just pat yourself on the back, saying yourself how good you are.
Speaking of tough guys, I know we've talked enough about the main event, but those are two genuinely very tough guys.
Yeah.
Nobody's questioning how hard Artur Beterbiev or Dmitry Bivol are. They are rock fucking hard, and that's why they've got to where they've got to. They've got the other stuff too, but at the base of it, that you have to have that.
Just before we move on, we do have a lot still to discuss.
20 minutes.
Barry, where next for Fabio Wardley?
Fucking hell. Well, realistically, or like Riyadh season, because it's almost like that's what it would be, but no, it could be fucking anything, which is quite amazing. But like people are going out like 3 fights ago, you would have said Daniel Dubois. 3 fights ago for Daniel Dubois, you would have said Daniel Dubois. You would have, wouldn't you? To win a British title, doing Dubois would be a step up for him. But no, you wouldn't. It's a ridiculous match to make. So where'd you go? And there's like, you would say like European level.
Joe Joyce, Derek Chisora.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Don't say that Chisora. It would be Derek Chisora. Jared Anderson coming back of a loss. Things like that. There's loads of fights from Jerome Miller. There's fights that'll put him in like a conversation with people. I mean,
I like Jerome Miller.
Jerome Miller's a good fight for him.
Forget about those. The thing is, though, they'll go like, well, by the end of the year, he can boxing down Dubai for the world title, which could be. But I would say just slow down.
The other thing they could do is just stick him on that undercard. I know it's already been set, but stick him on that Fury Usyk undercard, voluntary defence of the British title, because he would then win it outright.
Against,
I know it might be seen as a bit of a.
I mean, there's no one else there. Who else is it going to be?
Because he took no damage against Frazer. If he wants to win that title outright, and don't let it drag on into next year, only if they can do it on that date. Yeah, maybe do that.
Well, you got chuck him until December 21st. He's on straight away and defending his title. But they all want a more recognisable name possibly. Yeah. So it might have to be somebody who's been there and been beat.
Yeah, you'd think rather than being a defence of the.
They're all hard fights to him, see. But
is he miles off from that? I thought Jerome Miller beat Andy Ruiz.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but it just
If you're Andy Ruiz, do you want that fight?
Well, but they're paying him.
What about Deontay Wilder?
But that would be. You would think that's an expensive fight to put on.
What about Deontay Wilder? But he wouldn't fight Fabio Wardley, would he? He wouldn't want to.
But you've seen the Riyadh season. They're saying if it's a good fight, they'll pay for it.
I mean, I'd definitely watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, either way, the fucking world.
Well, we watch all of them, no matter. I was saying we'd watch it. Really, there's no sort of bar to set at all. We'd watch anything. Before we move on, the rest of the card, final one from the heavyweight fight. Ask what's next for Fabio Wardley, and he's going to come to you for the difficult one first. What next for Frazer Clarke?
So he's going to be out for a while, I would say. I don't know how long the healing period is for that kind of injury, assuming that all goes well and they don't need to do anything further to it. I think it could be relatively straightforward. It is as simple as just giving the bone time to knit together again. He'll definitely want to keep going, Frazer. I'm pretty certain about that. And you have to rehabilitate him. I think like Adelaide, someone like that would be a decent fight for him. By the time he's back, that British title may well be vacant. But they would probably need to get him a win anyway, wouldn't they? I think before he'd be able to box for it, to qualify for it. They've got to be careful with it, and people have to understand that they need to be careful with it. So we can't have any moaning when Frazer Clarke comes back in a fight that he's never in a million years going to lose, unless he now just finds himself mentally unable to box. And if that's the case, then hopefully he would know that before he agreed to take a fight, and he won't discover it in the ring. But it's going to need to be a soft one, the first one back, definitely. I don't see any other way.
Barry?
Same really. I think there has to be a little bit of a rebuild. Depending on how he feels, he's confident, and they'll have to see him in training, how he reacts in sparring with that damage, if he's worried that it's going to go again, which would be understandable. But his age and the investment in him as well, they're not going to want to go hope he's do another massive rebuild, because you haven't got the time, and also they probably haven't got that money to do that. So he's going to be one fight back in, a decent, then someone like an Adelaide or something like that, Solomon Dakers, and you mentioned him for Fabio, maybe that's a fight, because it's still a good fight for those to move up again, because they've beaten them
in-house as well at Queensbury.
And they've beaten them in a big medalist. Then you got to try and take a leap of faith. Then I think at some point with Frazer, it's a case of he has a fight back, then he has a domestic test, and then they try to chuck him in, because otherwise, what are you doing? How old is he now, Frazer Clarke?
I think 32.
Yeah, that
32,
sounds right.
But he's had a long amateur career.
Yeah.
Ironically, the one who's had all the wars is probably the fresher fighter than Fabio Wardley, because you haven't had that massive. You haven't years
in the pro game for sure, but
and the training, all that, it all takes its toll on you. Most boxers retire because the training camps have done you in.
But even if you Frazer Clarke, I mean, how many camps would he have done on GB and sparring your Joshuas and your Joe Joyces and all of those guys?
There's a lot of bars on the clock.
So but so when
and you can and you can kind of like because I know Frazer would used to get pissed off with people talking about that. Like now you've been knocked out in a round, like people are going to talk about that, because it's where you're rebuilding from at this age now. It's not like beforehand he was quite particular to point out the fact that he's still got time and heavyweights go on longer and all of that, but it does accelerate things.
If he's fucking 22
or 20.
If 22 and he gets knocked out, you can take a year out, literally, and then you can take another year and 18 months to rebuild and slow yourself down a little bit.
He's got one fight, hasn't he? I mean, he's got one fight.
One gimme.
Yeah.
And then one domestic one, which is not a gimme, but I mean, we're talking about a guy who's an Olympic medalist, so we're talking about a guy who should be, we should be finding out about this time if he's going to get that world level.
He'll be so frustrated because
it's a fucking
he'll have
cruel
been working
business,
on so much in the gym, long camp, and he was really confident during the week that he was going to show us something, show us something. Why, what divides him, separates him from Fabio, and
just
never happened.
If you get caught with a good shot, you're fucked anyway. And in that division, that's more prevalent than ever.
Okay, elsewhere on the card, we will go first to Jai Opetaia, the IBF and Ring Magazine Cruiserweight champion.
Fight of the night.
Really did something of a job on Jack Massey. We've seen Jai Opetaia obviously have some really impressive blowout performances, let's call it, from what they are, against Ellis Sorrow and Jordan Thompson. It wasn't quite that, but it was no less dominant.
Better performance. That was the best I've seen him, to be honest. Because see, Jack Massey's a really good fighter who gives anyone. He doesn't beat everyone, realistically, but he gives everyone a fucking hard night, I think, because he's structurally quite neat, and he's big for the weight. And so I don't think he ever wins the world title, Jack Massey, but he make people work for it. But I just thought, forget about him. The performance of Opetaia was much better than we've seen. I think when he beat Bradis, first of all, it was fantastic, and he showed toughness and did it out. And then we saw Bradis was still a good fighter. Then he had the two blowouts against British fighters below his level, and he did what you had to do. And then we all got carried away with this monster Jai Opetaia is, because outside of the ring he looks at you like he wants to eat you.
Yeah.
So everyone's scared of him. But we forgot really. We didn't really know much about him before. That's the truth before Bradis the first time. But when you had a look at him, he's a boxer really, who can punch a bit, but mainly he's a good boxer.
That was good amateur.
And now his dad back in. Probably went to the Olympics and all that. But now his dad's back in his camp. They've probably gone back to the more what made them what they were. So there's more movement, more thought. I think it was Usyk-esque, actually. Slightly.
No higher compliment than that.
Yeah, not as good as that, but I think it was like that. The way he was on you, but step and straight back in, trying to get that foot on the outside, trying to move around the body, get that uppercut through the middle, but always kept you working. Even when Massey wasn't throwing punches, he was always having to fucking think, and he just systematically just beats him up. I thought it was the right performance against the right opponent. He got tactically right, showed his dominance without making any mistakes. Didn't try and blast him out today, like he did with Zorro and Thompson. and didn't try and like he did with Opetaia, like he did with Bradis the second time, and then fucking panicked a little because he ran out of fucking gas. So I thought it was just real. He was always a favourite. It was never in danger he was going to get beat, I don't think. But that could have been a really awkward night where people started to go, fucking no, actually you're a bit scrappy. You haven't got that fucking raw power we all thought you had. But there he showed a real intelligence with his word, technically very good, physically strong, and dominant like you should be. So yeah, he cemented his place as number one in the world as a cruiserweight. I thought on Saturday night.
Yeah, I thought that, but kind of touching on what you said there, I think the most impressive thing for me was his fight management. The way that he just, it wasn't, it's kind of, we've seen him in two speeds up to this point, haven't we? We've seen him sort of on the outside having a look and fencing, or we've seen him just letting his hands go and blowing people out. This was like methodical pressure. Each round just picked up a little bit more and hands a little bit more.
High. Feet always light.
Really
Feet always
impressive.
light, but make sure he got the purchase to throw punches. Name me the last cruiserweight to box like that. Thank you.
Alexander Usyk.
Yeah, thanks. I
And
think
Massey did nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong. I thought in the week he was good. We went to see him. He was well prepared. Mentally, he was absolutely in the right place. I liked the fact that at the press conference he chose to speak to Opetaia rather than kind of out into the middle distance. He made it. He's talking to him about, I'm ready, don't take me lightly.
Don't get him angry, Jack.
But there was a resolution about him which I found convincing. He just couldn't do anything with Opetaia on the night because Opetaia was sharp and on point, and sometimes you just run into somebody who's better than you, and there's not an awful lot you can do about it.
I haven't heard.
That was it, and Joe stopped it at the right time.
I think Massey has a good career now.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, he'll have a few more losses on his career. He won't like this if he hears this, but he's boxing at world level now. He is, because they're all going to want to try and beat him, and he'll make some of those fighters. He might beat a couple, but I mean, he makes some of them not look very good. I don't think he beats any of them actually, but that's right now. But I mean, I think he'll make some good money. I do kind of think they'll want to go. No, he's like, if I can do it, so say Ramirez doesn't get, say he beats, just say argument's sake, Ramirez beats Ben Smith, and then they want to make the Opetaia fight, but they can't make it straight away. So they'll go, fuck, we'll fight Jack Massey, then we'll do a better job. We might not be able to do a better job on Jack Massey because I don't think he's busier fighter Ramirez, but he's not as big as Opetaia. No, he looks as big, but he might not be naturally as big.
Not as big, yeah.
Opetaia's not giant, though, is he? He's
no, but you'd have to kill that man to make him make 175. As recently as Ramirez made it.
Yeah. But so he has a hard night's work against him. And the same for Bill Smith. I think Bill Smith has a hard night's work against Jack Massey. Though I still think he beats him. It's hard, and then so he makes some good money now. I think around that fringe level. Does he? It's horrible to say it, but does he come like a gate? He'll have aspirations to win a world title, but I think that's going to be difficult. But he might be the gatekeeper all of a sudden, which might not be a bad thing financially for him, especially now with all the money thrown around. But I think ultimately we've seen the first semi-finalist win his fight, and the next one is November with Bill Smith and Ramirez, and then they look like to be on a collision course, but. Fucking hell, I tell you what, from that performance, the way how structured he was, I wouldn't be super excited if I had to fight him next. I think he's more of a monster now in my eyes than he ever was before, because that was thought behind that work. He was calm, took his time, thoughtful, much lighter on his feet, but stepped in behind every punch. That's a hard man to beat.
Very much. There's not really an awful lot to add from that. I mean, it was very, very one-sided. Just to echo what Andy said there, I thought it was a very, very good stoppage from Joe Gallagher. I think once or twice in the past, he's been criticised, Joe, for not willing to throw the towel in, perhaps when some others would have done. But I thought he was absolutely perfect, bang on the money this weekend against
Jack. He was gutted, but you could see he was gutted. Even though I was like, fuck, but.
Yeah, I mean that fight was only
fuck, but thanks.
Yeah, thanks for that, Joe.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, another incredibly impressive performance from Jai Opetaia. It feels like we're saying that all the time when he's beating up our boys, which is great. Elsewhere on the card, we go to flick through and try and flick through some of the rest of them, because obviously the main event did take up quite a lot of time today, rightly so, of course. But the Sky Nicolson performance, Andy, we mentioned earlier on, that's probably the one fight of the night on Saturday that didn't really have any craziness about it. But a dominant performance from Sky Nicolson against Raven Chapman.
Yeah, I thought she boxed really, really well. The first couple of rounds were not all that much happened. No one really landed anything. And Raven Chapman, you could see what the plan was. We all knew what the plan would be. You have to get inside that jab, and you have to try and make her uncomfortable. And increasingly, it appears like that's going to be a really difficult thing to do, because the way she sets up, she's quite tall, she's got quite a wide stance, she'll pull onto that back foot, she's got good balance, and she's just happy to wait for you. She'll use that jab and she's happy to wait for you. Little movement of the feet to take her that little bit further out. She measures that left hand well, right hook as she moves off to her right, and I thought she picked her punches well. It's still very easy to see what she lands and what she does, which I think is quite important when you box like that, because your fear might be that somebody will get on top of you, make it ugly, they'll get that credit for coming forward. It's not that easy maybe to see what you land and all that kind of stuff. I'm thinking of a kind of a Bassoon type. But she was really good. She was really good, and future undisputed, and all of the big chat in the last few weeks. You know, we were wondering about that during the week, how wise that was to put that level of pressure on yourself. But she absolutely, you know, she talked the talk and then she walked the walk. So fair dues.
Barry, impressed with Sky Nicholson's performance?
Yeah, she was. I thought Raven Chapman was a fight. I thought it might have been a difficult fight for her. And the first round, Chapman did all right, I thought, you know, but she was moving ahead to come in and then closing the gap and be able to have a bit of success. But then she stopped moving ahead. And then because, you know, trying to be aggressive, which is the right thing to do against Sky Nicholson, but you've got to do it with a bit of smarts, because just walking forward is what she wants you to do. Because she sits on that back foot. And she has, I don't think she's that tall, but she has a long reach.
She's got long arms, yeah.
Yeah, she flicks her shots. She flicks her shots out, so she doesn't put loads of power on them. See, she knows what she is now, Nicholson. And like, all this, I want to be more exciting. And another fighter didn't boxed out the character to try and sell themselves, and the night was shit. But like, she just knows this is what I do. It's not exciting. Listen, that's what I fought. But I'll be in exciting fights but let them make it exciting, and I'll just do what I do.
Yeah.
So she's comfortable in her own skin, and that's how she fights. So then you're trying to make it more aggressive, and then you should start going in straight lines. But after the first round, I thought Chapman I thought she found the formula. Move your head, stay nice and relax, and you're not going to hit the target all the time, but you're going to just make it work and hit it anyway, and just keep hitting. And make it. When she leans back, you got to make her lean fucking further back. Because that leaning back's great. But if you follow the punches in, then they're off balance, they don't know where to go. So what she does quite well, Nicholson, she throws a shot, she's leaning back, and then she'll pivot off. So that's why you see the shot clear, because you see the shot and nothing comes back, or you see the shot and you throw. Get off your phone, I'm talking, you prick. And then Declan Taylor would have done that. And then you know, but like, she makes it obvious that you've made a miss, and she makes it obvious she's to score with the shot by spinning off. So she was dominant. I mean, it was a really good performance from her. Like, a really good performance. Like, she just, in the end, she controlled. From the second round on, it was just her fight. It was 8-2. Like, I thought maybe, because I think she snicked the round later on, Chapman. But apart from that, she just played with it. It's horrible to say, because I thought Chapman could have done both better. But you've got to give the credit to Nicholson. No, she knows who she is. She knows what she does well. She controlled the pace. And she lets her hands go clean. Now, again, like you said, when she throws her punches, they're clear shots to see, they're clear shots to score every time. And that's what boxing is, ultimately. And if you don't have raw power or loads of strength, and like I've said all the time like throughout my career, and others people, if you punch hard enough to keep them off you, that's all you fucking need. There's a certain level that doesn't work. But I'm not sure in women's boxing that is as important as men's boxing. Yeah. Because maybe that strength thing is important, but not massively important. It's more about skill and movement. So you have fighters who some fighters like Serrano who have natural power and strength, but they're few and far between. That's the truth, and that's not criticism, is it? That's just how it is. It's like for heavyweights, it's worse for heavyweights than it is for fucking featherweights, because even the ones who can't punch can punch. Well, you know, you can take more shots and take more risks to the smaller guy, even though the skill level is 10 times fucking better. Yeah. And that's just, and that's it. And there, so she was fucking outstanding. Yeah. So I've given her some criticism over some fights, but I thought, you know, she thinks she's better than she is, I think. But fucking hell, don't all good fighters think they're better than they are? I think that's how you become a better fighter. Possibly you have to believe it to achieve it and all that shit. But it's true, isn't it? And she, I hate all those positive sayings.
Yeah, but then
fucking positivity.
When you go out and perform like that,
yeah, she was good, man.
And you're obviously prepared really well to produce a performance like that. You're doing the things that you need to do to make these things manifest themselves and all the rest of it.
It's up to somebody to prove you otherwise.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she knows what she's come to her own skin. She knows this is what I'm fucking good at. You want to beat me?
She's be really difficult to beat. I mean, particularly 2-minute rounds. I think she'd fancy 3-minute rounds anyway. Also because it's an economical way that she boxes. But over 2-minute rounds, definitely she's going to be. Yeah. She's going to be super hard to beat.
And like Katie Taylor, she mastered those 2-minute rounds. Over 3-minute rounds, she wouldn't be as successful. She might still be she's still a great fighter, but I mean, it's you know what you're good at. You know, you judged how you fight, and she bossed it. That's the truth. So well done, world champion. Well done, you're champion of the world.
Okay, I believe we've reached the final fight of the night to review, which was of course
manage.
In the light. No.
Well, we're going to skirt over Eubank, aren't we? There wasn't a great deal
no, we're
going
to talk about Eubank actually, but we're going to go to our official Chris Eubank correspondent, Mr. Andy Clarke, for his version of events on Saturday night. Andy, Chris Eubank Jr.
I thought...
Sorry, Chris.
I thought that it was an okay performance. I was actually quite critical of him during the commentary, or rather,
so were we. Actually,
I was asking for more because he put him down early, and my question at that point was, he didn't look really, really shaken or anything, Szeremeta, but he put him down early, and that suggested that there really wasn't very much left, which was always quite likely given how old he is and what he's been doing for the last 2 or 3 years. He's just been hanging in there, treading water, hasn't he, really? 4 wins, 2 draws. And I was saying Eubank needs to step in now and finish him off, because we've begun to wonder whether he's capable of doing that anymore, and he absolutely needs to do it here. Ultimately, he did do it, so you can't criticise him too much. But against somebody who, if he hadn't been able to finish him, it would have been bad. So it was okay. And then, of course, we had the carry-on afterwards with Conor Benn just being allowed to wander up into the ring, and they did all of that. It was quite WWE. A bemused Neymar was kind of drafted in as some kind of moderator/referee, which he seemed quite confused about. Bless him. I don't blame him. I think I'd have been quite confused about him if I was him too. And it seems obvious that that's what's now going to happen, is that those two are going to fight each other. And to be honest, for Eubank, I think that is a good option. I'm not sure if there's loads left there. Yeah. Fighting Canelo would be a terrible idea, I think, to be honest, because he's not just about the money. And I think that Ben fight is, I think it's by far his best option, although there are problems with it, obviously.
Yeah.
Hamza Shiraz and Janibek Hanuli, not either one of those for Eubank.
I don't think so, no.
I said that in commentary, because he said about, something about you still got aspirations to win a world title, and I said, fight Hamza Shiraz then. Like, I'm not criticising. If he has no aspirations to win a world title, that's fine.
That's his business.
We as boxers, we find it weird. Why wouldn't you want to win a world title when you've earned plenty of money? There'd be money in that as well. But he just wants to be in bigger name fights. So Hamza Shiraz is nowhere near the name of Canelo or Conor Benn. And that's just how things are. So he wants those fights that people will remember more than Hamza Shiraz, maybe. Though Hamza Shiraz might go on to be the best fighter who's ever lived. I don't think he will. I think
Turki Al-Sheikh was talking to him about Conor McGregor after the fight as well. And that if you're Eubank, take that. Yeah, then Canelo, no thanks. Conor McGregor, yes, please.
But on that basis...
Why is he talking to him about Conor McGregor?
I don't know, but I saw it on social media, so it must be true.
On that whole basis, when Neymar was in the ring, I said Neymar beat Eubank. Commentary. Doesn't mean that... Fucking, it was just madness, wasn't it?
Just on Eubank's performance there, Barry, you mentioned being critical of him. What did you like? What didn't you like about Eubank's performance?
But again, he landed a nice clean 1-2, and then got him out, and then dropped him, and then didn't throw the fucking right hand again. Started throwing uppercuts from too far out, and then gets too close and too far. Like Andy, what's his name? The other fella, Andy Lee.
Andy Scott's too many fucking Andys.
Too many. They got cold some of the Andys. Yeah. Too many Andys. They all look alike, innit? But Andy was saying he throws long punches at short range, which is probably cool. He threw that uppercut. It landed lovely a few times, and then he just fucking, I'll just keep doing this now. And then he got a bit scrappy, and that's what the guy survived as long as he did. And so it wasn't a bad fight to watch, really. It wasn't great, it wasn't bad, and it wasn't a bad performance, but it was set up for him. He had the guy who literally was, I'm just nicking words from other people, Dan Baker said he was in his slippers and pyjamas. Szeremeta, wasn't he, really? He was retired, more or less. And so, it was a performance. He had to look good. You had to get him out of there, because, it was, the capabilities were there to do it, and he just, he technically did, but it took too long, and it was too scrappy, I thought. For the guy who's really not really boxing anymore, and for another guy who's talking about, if you judge, it depends on you judge people. If you're judging a Eubank who's at the end of his career and on his way out, then I did okay. But if you're talking about a guy who's going to be challenging Canelo or Hamza Shiraz or one of the world champions, and you go, well, that wouldn't put the fear of God into me if I was one of those. And if I was Canelo looking for a big fight, because one thing about Canelo, and let's take away let's pretend Benavidez doesn't exist. He likes having tests. He wants fighters. He wants to fight people who fight back. To be fair to him, he's never not fought people who don't fight back. So he wants them. I think that brings the best out of him. He just wants it all in his fucking favour. But he's
just not that one who fights back. He fights back too much.
Yeah, no, but to be fair, that's the only one, though, isn't it? But either way, so we look at Eubank and go, well, that's fucking, that's no good. He'd only fight Eubank if he's gonna box in the UK, because that helps him sell out Wembley Stadium. Because Eubank is, whatever you think about Eubank, he's still one of the biggest names in British boxing because of his dad, and more also because of him as well. It's not all because of his dad. He's a massive character, and so he still sells. And that might be for Canelo the best fight. That's probably the only fight that he could fight over here. And help sell a stadium.
For sure, the only fight.
People go, Canelo sell a stadium anywhere. But would he? Over here?
No, it wouldn't.
Exactly. And pay-per-view as well.
There's no other Brit, really, either. Hamza Shiraz, but...
Unless Conor Benn knocks out fucking Eubank, which after Eubank got hurt again.
One of the things I wanted to discuss there is Eubank's punch resistance at 160. We've been talking about this for a little while now. I felt for a long time that since he went from 168 to 160, I know he wasn't a big 168 by any stretch of the imagination, but I think the first fight, I could be wrong, was the Vanik Adiwan fight at 160. I think, could be wrong. It might be Marcus Morrison, but when he came down from there, that robustness and that physicality that we'd all, and don't remember, part of it was the kind of shifting style to the Roy Jones Jr. sort of tribute that he was doing.
He just has so much energy at super middleweight, didn't he?
Yeah, and pre coming back down to middleweight, he had more energy than he showed at middleweight. He still never fought the full 3 minutes of every round down at middleweight, but now it's a lot less. And I mean, that right hand that buzzed him in the first round, it did buzz him in the first round or the second round. That came from a long way away, and he couldn't get out of the way. And
it was slow as well.
That's what I mean. It came from the back of and he couldn't get out of the way. And part of that he
did sort of step low with it, so maybe he just didn't see it boom over the top. But still, I don't. Yeah.
That punch
That's the vision I talk about, though. When you get older and longer career, you don't see it till it's too late.
And he is tiny. When you see him in fight week, when he turns to the side, he almost gets invisible. He is so lean and so. I mean, remember back when he was making 160 for Spike O'Sullivan and people like that. He was having to. He used to wear those gloves on the scales, didn't he? The Punisher gloves.
Well,
he used to have to take the gloves off sometimes. He was that tight on the weight.
Yeah.
And now he's 34, 35.
Well, I mean, he turned up to weigh on Friday lunchtime. Obviously, we saw them on the scales in the evening. That was a ceremonial weigh, and they all weighed in at lunchtime. Everybody who had to make a weight, and he wasn't wildly late. I think everybody else was just super punctual, but he was the last one to arrive. And he had his boxing boots on, so he'd been working right up until the last minute to dip in at 4 ounces under the limit. So it obviously is hard. He's never really made any secret of it.
No, don't we? Weight should be hard. Everyone knows fucking making weight's hard, but even people who are comfortable at the weight, it's comfortable.
It's very
compared to everyone else around you.
Different degrees of suffering, isn't it?
But it's strange, isn't it? Though, like you say, there somebody. It's not overnight, but you don't see fighters all that often, and it seems like quite quickly they go from looking really robust to looking a bit frail, a bit fragile.
Yeah.
But I'd felt that since when he hurt Marcus Morrison, I think, in the second round and went the distance. And Vanik Adouan just sort of quit in the corner after 5 or 6 rounds. But even that was kind of, I remember thinking, I was like, and like that, I mean, he's developed and kind of evolved and re-evolved and whatever since those days at middleweight. But still, we've not seen that. I mean, he threw a lot of punches against Liam Smith in the rematch after the first 3 or 4 rounds, kind of made sure it was safe, I think, before he did so. Yeah. And Liam Smith wasn't necessarily at his best that night. But it's been a while since we've seen Eubank sort of, that robustness, I think, is what's lacking.
Slow down. Like, I think Roy Jones tried to slow him. Like, I used to criticise Eubank. He was lightning fast, loads of punches, and fucking hell. And then I just used to think, actually, if he just slows down, throws half the amount, there's more purchase on the shots, and he will knock everyone out. But then when Roy Jones must have saw the same thing as Barry Jones. Once Roy Jones slowed him down, it was like, oh, you've taken away what was good now. I thought, just taking away what was good, because I think he needed to be a high volume fighter. So you lack a bit of purchase in your shots, but there's whipping every shot, so you feel him. And and at the highest level, he was not knocking loads of people out, but he would beat people on work rate and just energy. But he's actually, I think his energy is quite deceiving, because he only throws when he wants to throw. He doesn't throw back. He throws when he wants to throw. So I think actually he hasn't got this tremendous gas tank. He conserves energy he used to conserve energy for bursts of combinations, and then he wouldn't do fuck all for a long time. But that combination was enough to either make you think, shit, I can't make a mistake, or you looking for a rest, or he hurt you. So you had a bit of time to recover again. His dad would do a one shot. His dad would swing a right hand over the top and miss on purpose, but you go, fuck that, and you get out of the way. But that was him to get a rest. But no, he hasn't got that work ethic, but still boxes in the same way. Now he's boxing at a slower pace to be massive effective at any level above what he's fighting at the minute. But it seems really critical because he won. But this was a fight that he's to make him fucking look good, and he sort of didn't sort of thing. You know what I mean? And again, if this is a young guy, you sort of go, it's a good learning fight for him, and he's back now, and he needs to be better. But this is not a young guy. This is a guy who's 35.
34, 35, I can't remember how old he is now.
Yeah. Who's been pro since 2013, pro 2013, something like that. I don't know exactly, sorry, I haven't got the date.
That's right, 2011.
2011, fuck, it's a long career. It hasn't been particularly hard, but in stages it has been. And again, like you said, making the weight and being taught, like you said, but always being really tight at the weight all the time, just drained you. And your motivation, what is your motivation?
He's been making 160 now for 10 years. First time he was under the weight was in October 2014.
But he's disciplined though. I don't think he drinks. I don't think he's a massive party animal.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 fights at 168 after that.
Yeah. But anyway, he's back, and he'll be the Conor Ben fight's next. It's obviously that's going to be next. Whatever that is, it'll be in Saudi, you think, and and whatever you think about it, it's going to happen. It'll be a massive fight. I mean, if it was in the UK, that's a bigger fight now than it was before all the stuff happened. No, whether boxing fans like it or not, I understand why you wouldn't. But like, if Ben does get a British boxing board license, which is not inconceivable, I don't think. I don't think it is either. I don't know the ins and outs of it too much.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting into the territories now of time served, gov.
Yeah,
that sort of thing. But I don't really want to talk about it because I don't think they should talk about a fight when you have somebody who clearly cannot box because they failed a drug test, 2 drug tests.
Can I say I was speaking to Conor Ben over in Saudi? Like, he a little bit worried. Like, he's a little bit paranoid, a little bit about people fucking thinking, whatever.
I wonder what gave him that idea. Why people might think that.
I'll tell you what though. But if you speak to him. Just sit down and speak to him, you would say, no way did he. I'm not saying he didn't. He obviously fucking did. But like, there's proof, isn't there? But if you spoke to him, you would be so convinced that he didn't take fucking drugs.
Knowingly, anyway.
Knowingly, yeah. And his biggest argument is, I think, and this is not like a private conversation. I don't know Conor, but you may Conor. He seems like a nice. When you went on, he's like a nice kid, isn't he? And you just go, why would I spend all this money defending my fucking name? Well, I just fucking took a ban and said I didn't know I took. He said, pretty much, I'm paraphrasing. I just took the ban, said I didn't know I took it. I took something, but I didn't know I took it. And so he don't get blamed for being a fucking cheat. He just took something wrong, and I'm sorry, like a lot of other fighters have done. And I would be fighting again now. He said, but I didn't fucking do it. Nothing happened. I wasn't there. I don't know.
then that's something that you have to pick up with the relevant authorities.
Yeah,
and until he does that, I'm not saying that you are, but it's a very simple answer.
Yeah, but it's in your system. If they've taken the test in your system, you got to fuck it. That is what it is. But what I say is like, no, he's been fucking tortured. Like, fucking tortured, maybe rightly so, whatever. But either way, like he's fucking going like, I will never admit to taking fucking drugs. Like that's it. There's no fucking give or take with that kid. He's not. Unless you come out now and I took my ban, but like the way he's talking, he's like he won't. Like if they said, listen, like you served your 2 years now, but you got to admit,
he wouldn't do it.
I don't think he would.
Well, that's the process that he has to go through, and that's the decision that he has to make alongside his team. Until that point has happened, though, I do think it's in extremely poor taste to have that kind of carry on. All of this stuff before the fight about Beterbiev's arrogant because he doesn't. I just do me a favour. Like, and also, like, there were certain things about Saturday night that were totally incongruous with the scale of the main event and the type of main event that we had, and that was one of them. That WWE stuff, Neymar in the middle, and all sorts of stuff. Until there is an official, and look, by all accounts, things are moving behind the scenes and very well, and whatever, however that kind of plays out. Let it play out before you ignore the elephant in the room and try and shove it down everybody's throats. That's how I feel as a paying customer, no less, of DAZN this weekend.
But either way, whatever.
It'd be a huge fight and I'm sure it will happen.
It's the next fight.
It's definitely happening.
Let's have some parliamentary procedure, guys.
Very good.
But anyway,
boxing. This is wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that phrase though. God, it's so good.
It's the next fight. It's
the
next fight. Whatever it goes, it's the next fight.
That way.
But it might end up being in Riyadh with no fucker watching in the crowd. I know the crowd was like, it wasn't packed. It was
okay. Yeah, it's okay. I think people need to stop obsessing about that because
just on that, Andy, sorry about it. I have no problem with it going to Saudi where there's not 90,000 Brits there. I do have a problem with it going to Saudi because it can't be sanctioned over here.
Yes,
that's where I have a problem.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
If it goes over there because the money's there and it's this, that, and the other, and he's allowed to box, then that's fine.
Yes.
But if you're going over there to circumvent rules and regulations, then no.
A loophole fight.
Yeah, no.
Not for me, thanks.
But anyway, moving on to Ben Whittaker, as we were just about to. I completely forgot about the Eubank fight. Not great. I usually have it in front of me. Anyway.
I'll never forget, Rob. Never forget.
You'll never forget the Eubank. To be fair, I deliberately did it. I just wanted to see Andy.
Just to say, now I can't pick my kids up from school.
Well, we're going to do very, very short.
There's no fucking point now, is it? Because I can't, as I say.
Oh, we'll do another hour. No, Ben Whittaker versus Liam Cameron. There we go. Ben Whittaker versus Liam Cameron. I think it's fair to say, Andy, that was not what we were expecting on the night. A technical split draw. Did Ben Whittaker get away with one there?
Well, I think...
As far as terms of getting out of the fight with an unbeaten record, certainly not to imply anything with the injury which some people have.
Exactly, there are two things going on there basically with the fight. The way that it finished was bizarre because you don't see that very often, obviously, and it's a difficult one to kind of interpret. But as soon as they both disappeared over that top rope, essentially the referee's got to decide how that's happened. Injuries do occur naturally sometimes, and it's nobody's fault in that circumstance. If that had been what happened, then Whittaker would have lost because it would have just been his bad luck. But it was caused by an accidental foul. So the referee decides, was it just normal, acceptable rough and tumble, or was there a foul? And there was a foul, but it was accidental. He didn't do it deliberately, and he was unable to continue, so it goes to the cards. And as for people speculating as to whether he's really injured or not, it can only be speculation. And I understand why people find it fun to do it, but I feel like you just have to take an athlete or a boxer at their word if they say that they're unable to continue. You will get some who will exploit situations and lie about it to get themselves out of a potentially tricky situation. But you can't just wander about assuming that everybody has done that, because boxers don't generally have much of a track record for that kind of thing. So it's a bit pointless to get involved in that. But what we do know is that 5 rounds in, that was going to get very hard for Ben Whittaker in the second half.
It was already hard, wasn't it?
It was already hard.
But it wasn't going. It was going. It looked like it was getting worse, didn't it?
Yeah, it was already hard, and it was only going to get harder. And if he was going to win that fight on points over 10 rounds, which is the way that he would have had to have done it because you couldn't see him stopping Liam Cameron, he was going to have to really dig in, find a second wind and pass an almighty gut check. Again, because we didn't see those final 5 rounds, we don't know that he wouldn't have been able to do that, but the signs were that he was in trouble. He was in trouble because he boxed the wrong fight. He wanted to try and take it to Liam Cameron. Maybe he wanted to show people, look, I can be a tough guy. I'm not just, this showboating guy. But what he needed to do with Cameron was hit and not get hit. Because ultimately, that is what Whittaker is. That's what he needs to be. That's the skill set that'll get him to a high level if indeed he gets there. Because, yeah, you've got to have respectable punching power, but you can't get too obsessed with the idea that you must be a puncher. You've got to play to your strengths, and his strength is that you can frustrate the life out of somebody. You can make yourself very difficult to hit. You can make them burn all sorts of nervous energy trying to track you down and getting irritated with you. And then you pick your punches, and you've got to be fit enough and disciplined enough to do it for 10 rounds. But he didn't do it, did he? He kind of took it into the trenches almost really early.
Well, I think
and that was a bad idea.
I think when you get a prospect like if that magnitude, you always get one performance where you go, fucking hell, he's not that good. And that was his. But this was a step up for him, it was. But also, I thought still, stylistically, a fight where that could actually make him look even better. Because Cameron's tough and he's good. He can box, Cameron, all the things. And also, what things he's been through, he's a mentally tough guy, not just physically. But he does come at you, and it is in relatively straight lines, so he does jab really well. But Whittaker was there because of what he fucking does. I think he wanted to prove himself, and also because this Riyadh season stuff, everyone's trying to sell himself to stay on the next one.
Yeah.
But he got you on there because of the fucking showboating.
Yeah.
They got you on it for that. And also, I think with the showboating, he finds, like Fury, when people say, well, Fury and Usyk, he wouldn't have fucked around, then he might have stopped Fury Usyk, he might have beat him. But I think if he doesn't fuck around, he can't box the way he boxes.
Yeah, it's part of it, isn't it?
Within all the mistake, within all that shit is the magic, and also with that is also the vulnerability. And I think that's a little bit like Ben Whittaker. In all the shit he does, that we don't give a shit, we don't want, we don't like, and we don't care about, but it doesn't offend me. But everyone else, all the younger generation, love it.
Yeah.
So, and also, it relaxes him to express himself. And when he expresses himself, I think he's mentally sharper, physically sharper.
Yeah, I agree.
And so he's boxing the wrong fucking fight. He's trying to tough it out with the guy who's tough.
Yeah.
Tough it out with the guy who can't
exactly
fight,
what he
didn't he? He just picked the wrong tactic, the wrong guy, and that's inexperience, massive inexperience. And someone in the corner should have slapped him in the face. I'm not blaming anyone, by the way. Should have slapped him in the face and go, "What the fuck are we doing here now? Like, where are you? This is not Ben Whittaker. This is just a good. It's a good fight to watch. Well done. You're in a good fight. Well done. You're in a fucking entertaining scrap. Well done. But you don't. This not going to take your world's hell. It's going to make you fucking shot worn.
I was going to say it takes rounds off
Yes,
you.
of
It
course
doesn't
it
give
does,
you
yeah.
anything. He doesn't gain anything
So
from that fight.
he was there to show off. And also that can't punch, and he's not going to be a puncher, but he can punch his weight and the angle of the attack and the speed and all that, and the ones you don't see.
That's it.
But if you frustrate the fighter for like, which he has the ability to do within 2 rounds, force him to make a mistake and then ping him.
Yeah.
But then you could do that. What he did there, do that at round 7. When you've seen him physically, not saying Cameron would have, he probably fucking wouldn't have, that guy, but when you see him start to drain his energy, or you see he's making mistakes, he's pushing his punches more, then sit down and bully him then. Because you got the energy, because you've been so relaxed, you haven't fucking wasted an ounce of sweat. You're going boom, 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 bam, bam, bam. And then when he tires down, then you can go fucking have some of this now, push, whack. I mean, that's how I used to box now. I mean, but he has the ability to do that.
Yeah.
But if that guy doesn't show like Cameron doesn't show any fucking like frustration, I think he would have shown frustration, but doesn't show any lack of strength or energy, then you just box the whole fight the way you always box, and you just totally win every second of every round. And the guy just makes you work, but not enough to put any pressure on you. And you look like the fucking brilliant fighter. And you get criticised for being a show-off, as always. All the purists go, he's going to get knocked out at one stage. And the debate goes on, but all the young kids go, wow!
Yeah.
And there's clips there to put on social media again. You bam, bam, bam. Look at Whittaker there. He's spinning around on his fingers and did the 3 somersaults and made him miss by an inch. Blew a kiss, tapped him on the head. No, you don't like that.
No, I'm not a big fan of that, but I think you're absolutely right what you said earlier.
Be who you are.
Yeah.
Sky Nicholson.
And that
comfortable with what you're good at.
And that is what he does, because he's been asked about the showboating, and he said a couple of times, he said, I don't even really want to do it. It just happens, but we'll just let it happen then, because I think it does bring an extra edge and energy to his boxing and makes him box in the right way. Because knowing what you are is really, really important. And when you've achieved the level of kind of sporting celebrity that he has, off his performances, but everybody's got something to say about it. And it can make you think, I need to do this, I need to do that. These people seem to be saying that I'm not tough enough and that I'm all style and no substance. I need to show them. Never mind all that. Because I think it's stuff like that has basically led him to think, and probably with Turki Al-Sheikh in the front row, he's probably led him to think, I'm going to show everybody. They think I can't do it like this. I'm going to out tough guy
in the past. There's numerous examples.
Yeah, there's so many. It's such an easy trap to fall into. But he's got away with this one because it's a draw on his record, not a defeat. Like I said, we don't know for sure what would happen in the second half, but it was going to be bloody hard. That much we do know.
It wasn't going his way. He might not.
Yeah, it wasn't going his way.
He might have been ahead, but it might not have been. But he wasn't going his fucking way. And also, when they say you can't fight like that, you fucking can't. He showed himself he can fight like that, because you're bringing people's strength into the contest.
Yeah.
Your superpower is taking away their strengths and weaknesses. You expose their weaknesses, you take away their strength, you frustrate them. What the fuck in it? Be who you are, and you're there for that. By the way, he got you on the bill for that. If Turki Al-Sheikh's a massive boxing fan, like people say he is, and let's presume he is, then he's seen you box. And by the way, like Chris Mannix in America, they don't know much about British boxing really, except for the big names. They know about him.
Yeah,
he's going he's saying this is the best.
He said he's got the highest ceiling of any prospect.
Yeah,
in world
because
boxing.
Not because of his ability as a boxer, it's because of the fucking social media shit. And also, he was going to top a bill in America. That's gone now.
No, it's not.
Yeah, but they didn't want it. That wasn't a good idea anyway.
It's something I didn't think it was. But I mean, either way,
get him out of Wolverhampton,
and I've sat down with that Chris Mannix for his little podcast, fucking not as good as it is. But and he was saying the same. I was saying it's mad putting him on. He said, and we were both in agreement that we would be on an undercard of a US show. It's a great idea to show him, but they want to see him because of fucking those little clips that are doing millions of fucking.
But this could end up being a really good thing. Sometimes a night you look back on, at the time it seemed like an absolute disaster. Yeah. So long as you learn some lessons from it, it can be a really good thing.
Well, that's kind of where I was going to go next. We're 3 years now removed from Tokyo.
Because 1 year in my little theory of to make it.
And
4-year cycle.
He's suffered with injuries, kind of had that period of time off after he boxed on the Usyk Joshua 2 undercard with a shoulder injury, which he carried over from the amateurs. And it's 3 fights now in a row. Leon Willings, Ezra Aranyika, and now this fight, where he's not really blown people away in the same way, should we say, as kind of some of those earlier fights. It could very well be now that this is the fork in the road that he needs. He needs to whatever those changes he needs to make. I mean, I'm sure he and his team will know that. But it feels like now, on the back of that, coming out of it with your undefeated record intact, that now has got to be the wake up call for him.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it does because
he is so talented, and as we know, you've seen him in the amateurs.
He had good momentum at the start of the year. He had that really good knockout in Bournemouth last December. Then he had that big performance against Cali Gradia where he went to town.
Super viral.
That went super viral, but he stopped him, and he's not an easy guy to stop.
No, he's not. No.
So that was a proper performance. And then since then,
I thought the Willings fight was a good fight. I think he boxed
the Willings fight was a decent fight. Aranika didn't really.
It's more when you put the three together. On the back of the three.
Pattern, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Aranika didn't really come to attack much, so that makes it hard. And then the Cameron fight was made, and we thought, great, this is the one we really need to see. And he did just get it completely wrong. And I think when he looks back on it, he'll know himself that he got it completely wrong. He won't need to look back on it. He'll know now, I think, that he got it completely wrong.
Probably knew about it in the third round.
But also, I would say, even though he's a grown man, but sometimes when the transition from amateurs to pros is always a bit difficult. But the physical factor is the most adaptable, the adapting thing you have to come through. So it's just a more physical sport than amateur boxing. So all the ability, it takes you there, but sometimes it can be suffocated, swallowed by someone who's just massively stronger and fucking tougher.
Yeah.
So you have those fights where you go, but usually you're fucking 19, you haven't got the strength but you learn, no, actually this is hard.
But we said about it before though, didn't we? It's about that pain.
It's
about knowing that pain.
But he had that Saturday where he's like, you know, he's popping in with shots and then all the slips and slides don't work and the guy don't give a fuck.
And he was landing on the top of the head when he was slipping and ducking down to one side. Cameron was punching over.
Also he was sliding into punches.
Everybody's in a massive rush as well, though, aren't they? Because his technical level, his ability level is really, really high. We know that, Olympic silver medalist, but these things take time sometimes. These things can take time, you know, to, like you say, to adapt to the longer duration of pro boxing, the greater amount of pain of pro boxing. It's all different, and it has been stop-start his pro career. You could say it only really got going again. It only really got going properly towards the end of last year, because the first couple of years, I mean, not very much happened because of injuries. So maybe it's going to take a bit longer than we think. That's not a massive big deal, you know. That can be. Yeah. And if that's how it is, then that's how it is. He's 27, is he now?
Oh, he's fucking a little bit older.
Or he's a little bit older than that.
I think he might be 28.
But if you go at the pace that you go at, you know, there's no point throwing somebody into something if the signs are they might not be ready for that yet, just because everybody else seems to have decided that he should be going at this pace, and that's where you need. This
was the right fight for him, though.
Yeah, no, this was. Yeah,
it had all that. It was the perfect barometer. You compare him to. Look, if he does a good job on him, you make the Lyndon Arthur fight next.
Because this is.
You know, because Lyndon Arthur just beat him. And
of course,
had a close fight with him.
But he didn't.
Yeah,
so now
exactly.
Now we need to reassess.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But I think the kind of one of the big points of that is, and even with the injury, you know, is when you. There is the double-edged sword to the showboating and I could beat Dan Aziz in 5 fights and all of this stuff. People don't forget that. Yeah, and when you go tumbling out of the ring, people are going to take the other side of it straight away. They're not even going to think about it. And, you know, if you're not knocking out an Ezra Aranyica or you're not knocking out Leon Willings or either, which is fine because like they're decent fighters who, I mean, certainly Ezra Aranyica tried to not get stopped. So but you're going to get much more criticism than a guy who's boxing at 5 o'clock who hasn't done all of these things. And that's the price you have to pay.
Especially at that weight where, you know, like ultimately that weight, power becomes a big factor because people just start walking through your fucking punches. But he didn't box the way he fights, and he wasn't forced to fight. The thing is, that's the thing. That's where they'll be so disappointed, him and the team, but certainly him. He wasn't. If Liam Cameron forced him to fight that way, then you would go, well, fucking. Then I think there'd be more questions.
That was his idea, wasn't it?
It was his. Yeah, I think there'd be more questions. You go, fucking hell. He boxed the way he boxes to his best, and the Cameron just fucking swallowed him, or they just fucking jumped all over him. But he didn't. He tried to fucking outfight him. But then again, he's done that in a couple of fights where in the first round, he's looked really structured. And I thought he was going to read on him. And then he started doing all the showboating shit. But he didn't in that round. He didn't in that fight. He just went straight out there and tried to fucking fight with him, thinking, I'm sharper, I'm faster. I want to do a better job than probably thought than Lyndon Arthur. But let's talk about Liam Cameron for a second. Fuck me, that's been it. I think that's a great. He might have got the win, by the way. But he might have got beat. So if he gets beaten and fucking really, he made him really work hard, but he got beat. It don't sound so great. People forget he made him work hard. He just got fucking beat. Now he's got a moral victory because the fight was going his way. I'm sure. I don't want disrespect for him, but I'm pretty sure that I'm not pretty sure at all actually. But Whittaker might have turned it around in his favour in the end. But you just don't know. But now you can go, fucking hell, the fight was going in my way.
Yeah.
And also, how bad did he hurt himself?
He's going to lean into all of that stuff because why wouldn't you? If you feel Liam Cameron,
we did it straight away.
And it was intentional. He did push him. He pushed him with ropes. He didn't push him with ropes, but he pushed him because Whittaker was holding on to him, and he was going, "Fuck you." That's what happened there. And the ropes were really fucking loose, by the way. Like they really were. But I mean, even they've gone right over. But we had the replay about fucking 20 replays.
Yeah.
And I'm going, when he's first on the floor, I'm going, that's a back. I think I mentioned that's got to be back. And then when I look back and the shoulders, they have fucking shoulders like that. And I go, oh, that must be the shoulders. But I thought, if he said his back and his shoulder, his spine, anything like that, you could see it. Where they went down like that, you know, like what's the rugby thing, the jackknife or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
It looked like one of those, or fucking
spiked.
Yeah, spiked. The spike. And I thought, wow, that's something like that looks fucking really bad.
Yeah.
But then when he said it was his foot, I couldn't see it. His foot went over. It was the right foot though, wasn't it? So his left foot went over the ring, I think. And I thought maybe that's caught it, but maybe he's just, listen, you've got to take him for his word. But you've got to. But, also, if you've hurt yourself, and there was rumours that someone said, listen, fucking stay down.
That's what Liam Cameron said afterwards.
If he said it,
he did. He also prefaced it with allegedly afterwards. So somebody's in his ear, Lee Eaton's in his ear, going, "Mate, just be careful."
Yeah.
But either way, I think Whittaker's got to take the fucking rematch.
He has to.
That's got to be the next fight, and he's got to box the way he fights. You add. I say this all the time, don't I? You add to your fucking strengths. I mean, you add to your game all the time. Always looking to be better, this, better than that, and you learn how to tough it out properly. Learn how to fight inside. Learn how to be tough when you're being out jabbed, or you have to adapt. You can do that in the gym. Don't do it in a fight though. Just learn it in the gym, and then just implement it in a fight when you're after you've been dominant, or if you have to when your back's against the wall. Don't fucking think I'm gonna fight this way, because clearly now we can't fight that way. Not against that sort of opponent.
I just think it's
tactically and tactically everything was massive inexperience. You box the way you box. Like, I could go back to Sky Nicolson. You box the way you box to the best of your fucking ability, and if that don't work, then you're not good enough fucking anyway. Something you've learned over a few weeks is not going to make you a better. It's not going to make the whole changing your style is not going to make you a better fighter. Do what you do. Frustrate people, show off, be relaxed. Whiz it, and just try and get a bit more strength in your shots. As the rounds go on, because you step up a level, you're going to need that. But thinking you can just fucking dog it out with a real tough fucking lunatic like Liam Cameron, just seems fucking naive.
I just think now it's just what they've got potentially is just a cracking fight night where they can take him back to Wolverhampton. They can take him to Wolverhampton. They can put him top of the bill. There's a great narrative around the fight. There'll be a lot of interest in the fight. He'll be under pressure to deliver in the fight. It's just a really good Saturday fight night headline for Whittaker. It'd be his first headline. It's ideal, isn't it?
Remember when Naz, he knocked him out, because that was Naz, but when Naz blocked Daniel Lacey in, what was it, 95, 96? He got dropped. Dropped, didn't he? He's a Puerto Rican big puncher. He got dropped. Now, even though he won the fight and knocked him out, it was like, and all the people who didn't like Naz were going, fuck it. This is different, Dad. This is no. But it's like, nah, he was already world champion. Nah, that's the start of it now. Now we can see him. We've seen him be a hit before, but he's been fucking dropped and hurt now. He's fucked. That's it. That's the crack. We've seen it now. He won't be as fucking good anymore. Well, we were all fucking wrong. I didn't think that way, but they were all wrong. But you read it, and you could understand. My dad phoned me up. I was working in Dublin at the time. My dad said, "Just see him get dropped." And he said, "There you go. That'll be my father thought that'll be the demise now." People realised, like, if you can slip inside him and they whack him, he can't take a punch. He could take a punch, actually, but I mean, it looked like. But I think that fucking made him a better fighter. Made him fuck this. I don't think that's even bothered what people thought, actually.
No.
But Whittaker's got to be that way. He's got to go, listen, like, this is the little slip up here. Forget about the injury stuff, but just the actual performance. It wasn't a great performance. I boxed the wrong way. He might think I was enjoying it, by the way. He might think I was enjoying that, and I was going to fucking turn the screw even more. But you've got to box the way you box, man. You've got to know what you're good at, and you've got to, and for him, because there's pressure for him to perform every time, do what you do. And if people love it or they hate it, but at the minute you're in a great Marmite situation where people love it and fucking hate it. You're in go speak to Chris Eubank, junior and senior, and because they know what it's like when people fucking love you and hate you. And I also asked to have a look how much Chris Eubank's fucking junior's got in the bank, and think, that's what's going to set you apart. And then because no one in America wants to watch you fucking fight. No, if you're fighting like that. They want to see you doing fucking somersaults and wearing grass skirts and wrapping your way to the ring. They want to see that shit, don't they?
It's true.
I don't give a fuck about it, but they want to see it, and that's what sells you. So it might be the best thing that happened to him.
Yeah, it might.
Maybe.
It might cause him to have a real think about a lot of things, because he'll be getting the criticism and it will hurt, because everybody feels it. There's no way around that. Not many people are actually like Hamed in that. I genuinely don't think he gave a shit. I don't think Whittaker's like that. I don't think he's especially thin-skinned, but I think he's kind of like normally skinned, and he does like the attention. But
he also, a nice kid off camera?
Yeah, no, he really is. Yeah,
he really is.
But he might look at it and just think, okay, maybe I'm going to have to be a bit more hard. This is pro boxing. I'm going to have to be a bit more hard bitten and embrace the unpleasantness of it a bit more. And maybe I need to go away from home for camp and get Spartan conditions and really do all of that. Maybe that's what I need to do going forward now, because he's been training where he lives. Nothing wrong with that. Training with Joby, who's his godfather, very close to him. Maybe he'll just think about just the whole setup and how the world he's in now is one where you feel like you're making the sacrifices, but maybe there's another level to go to there. I'm not saying he doesn't train hard, because all the reports I get are that he trains very hard, but maybe you've just got to take it to that uber level where you stop thinking, this can't be nice, this can't be fun. I know that sounds a bit bleak.
Which is sometimes living outside your comfort zone. I mean, we've seen fighters do it over the years after either damage and defeats, or Amir Khan went over to the States, Luke Campbell went over to the States, Hamza Shiraz went over to the States.
But
he doesn't need to go to America.
Not necessarily that, but like you know what I mean. There's where people have okay, I need to make a change.
And it doesn't mean that
if they don't go to America, they go to Ben Davison.
And it doesn't mean that I'm not saying that he's got to sack Joby or anything like that. That's definitely not going to happen. He'll always be there. He'll always be there. But you've got to think about when you've got this kind of like rare kind of talent. Sometimes you do need someone who's been around a bit. Yeah,
but I don't think. I think if he boxed the way he normally boxes, because I don't think Cameron made him box that way. If Cameron made him box that way, then
you're right. He did it deliberately. And also, he voluntarily did it.
If he boxed the way he boxed normally, and then had that same thing, and he had a fucking hard night and whatever it was, and then you sort of go, he needs more experience in the corner. He needs something different. Because the first thing, you blame the fucking corner all the time, don't you? That's what happened. Not you personally, but yeah.
No, but I know exactly what you're saying.
Because he didn't box that way. Well, he didn't do what he's good at, and we don't know if that was going to work. That might not have worked against Cameron, by the way, but you tend to think he would have. So that looks like a guy that on Saturday. That didn't look like a corner issue, although I didn't really hear the corner, so I don't know if they were saying, "What the fuck are you doing?" But like. That looked like a fighter who made his own decision to do something. That did.
Yeah.
That's what that looked like to me. Because ultimately, all the corner and all the advice and all the tactics are brilliant. But if you got to think for yourself in the ring, you got to think for yourself. So you and you do think for yourself.
But that in itself is maybe a bit of a problem, isn't it?
It's an experience, isn't it?
Yeah, but also if they've kind of. It's
the peer pressure's got to him, hasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's maybe got to him, and maybe that's kind of indicative of the fact that. Like he's a bit too kind of comfortable that he feels like, well, I can decide on the tactics for my fight and do something different to the corner. I've told him if that's what's happened.
Yeah, but
maybe you need someone in there who's basically just going to say.
But you're more likely to do that against someone you don't fucking know than someone you've known all your life. I say that much because you're going to trust them when you trust them.
Yeah.
But if you don't, ultimately with anything with corners and stuff like that, if you don't fucking trust them, get rid of them. I mean, don't trust them as a nicking. If you don't trust their worth in the corner, then no point having them in the fucking corner. Because like you need to trust the person who's telling you, because they might say, listen, you got to do this, and you're going, well, that does sound fucking good.
I think he does. I think he does trust them.
Does.
I think he absolutely does.
He's just like a kid who decided he woke and just go, you know what, I'm gonna sell myself. Maybe so all this like I don't fuck what people say. It's a difficult way to live, that is, for anybody.
It is hard, yeah.
We all want to be liked, don't we?
Yeah,
all of us, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a rare individual who genuinely doesn't give a fuck. There's not that many of them.
No.
And you do.
You've got to be one, haven't you? Because the stuff you say is like surely
there's me, the Eubanks.
Yeah.
Naz. I mean, we're all very similar, the four of us.
There's only people say, yeah, I'll do this, but I'll make loads of money, and that's fucking great. But like, people. I get people like some people say shit to me on Twitter, like you fucking cunt you and all that.
That's a hard road to walk.
Yeah, but like people shout them in the street, don't they? And
it's a hard road to take. It really is, and I don't think.
I admire the people who can be. I mean, listen, once you don't care what people think about you, you're bulletproof.
Yeah.
I mean, in life, you're bulletproof, and you've won everything. Like, you don't care what people think.
Yeah.
Like, ego's a funny thing. People think ego's all about, showing off. But I got a massive ego because I'm self-deprecating all the time. I'm fucking fearful of what people know. I joke about my good looks and no, being little and bald. You know what I mean? And so you do get like, and I think he found a little bit of that maybe because he thought he'd come out there and he's going, I'm going to show people I'm fucking tough. Like as you said, as an amateur, we've seen you tough in like 3 rounds against Krasniak. Was it Krasniak?
Yeah. I mean, he's just in a very unusual situation for all sorts of reasons, and everybody's got something to say. The scrutiny is huge, and he doesn't really get any sympathy for the scrutiny being huge, because people will say, well, you brought it on yourself. And you think, well, I mean, I kind of just started boxing when I was a kid, and I've been doing this forever since it turned out I was really, really good at it. I mean, that's not, that's a big part of it too. It's not just, you can't just hop around a ring on one leg. Anyone can do that. Not anyone can do what I do. There's a lot there. And you like the fact that he's kept it close to home. He's kept the circle tight. It's people he knows who really give a shit about him, because his circle is absolutely that. It's his dad, his godfather, his brother, basically. But boxing careers are short, and sometimes you have to make difficult decisions. And it doesn't mean that you throw anybody to the curb, but it just means you might want to think about, is there someone else out there who could really add to this for me?
But also, you've got to be a little bit happy for Liam Cameron, haven't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, none of his, he was gutted. He thought he was going to win the fight, and the interview after, I don't know if you've seen it, he looked so gutted in the change room, looked fucking depressed. This behind, he was just feeling like, I think he didn't even finish the sentence. He didn't finish the sentence. He sort of went, oh.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, obviously, his stock rises even without getting the win. But imagine he won.
But he gets the rematch.
Imagine he gets the win. Yeah, but he gets the win. But he gets the win.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's better.
The win.
Yeah.
But you know what? But the only good sign is he's not beaten. He got a moral victory, massive moral victory, and he gets another fight which should be for more money. Hopefully.
Oh, it will be for more money.
Yeah, deservedly more money.
Absolutely.
And also he goes with a bit of a bargaining chip as well, going, listen, I beat you, golden boy, really.
Yeah,
and that's what he'll say. It didn't happen.
That rematch doesn't happen for some reason, given the way that Riyadh sees and is what we know about it so far, is that he will be rewarded with another fight, even if it's not Whittaker.
Now signed with Queensbury as well.
Yeah,
No, I mean, he had a good weekend. He really did.
Yeah, I mean, apart from outside of Artur Beterbiev, he probably had the best weekend out of everybody.
Because that's what he'd be saying. Yeah, I've never had a promotional deal. You've got one now.
You've got one now.
Good luck. They're not getting any fights again. People think when you sign with a promoter, any promoter, by the way, not having to go Queensbury, you sign with a promoter, you go yes, and then 6 months down the line, you go, fucking hell, I haven't got a fight yet. Sometimes they just sign you rather than someone else sign you.
How's this? Because I heard that he was potentially going to get another fight on one of the Riyadh cards. Liam Cameron against Malik Zanad.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Nice, yeah.
That would be, yeah.
Well done.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well done.
That's a good one. Okay. Right, well, we don't have time to break down anything else, including this weekend's show, and which is Adam Azim versus Ahara Davis. I'm sure we'll catch up at some point between now and then. But yeah, I think we've pretty much got there. We've run over today, but a very long show. Thank you to our usual twosome of Mr. Barry Jones and Mr. Andy Clarke for stopping by, and of course to you, our long-suffering viewers, for stopping by. Let us know in the comments who you thought won. Was it Beterbiev? Was it Bivol? Do you want to see a rematch, and who wins that one? But from me, Rob Tebbutt, from these two here, thanks very much for joining us, and we'll catch up with you next week.